The information shared in these conversations and videos are intended for general knowledge and entertainment purposes only. It should not be considered as legal advice or professional guidance. Additionally, any documentation or references to specific content are solely for the purpose of discussion and understanding. It does not imply endorsement, promotion, or support of said content. The views expressed in these videos and/or conversation are those of the individuals involved and do not represent any official stance or opinion. The content you are about to experience may contain strong language, including explicit words and phrases. This language is used for artistic expression and may be integral to the storyline or character development. It is important to note that the use of such language does not endorse or promote offensive behavior. Viewer discretion is advised, and please enjoy the show responsibly.
The United States Fair Use Disclaimer.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Life is harder than I like to think, but it's easy when you're by my side. No point in calling, you just have to see the fundamentals of our life tonight. Cause I've been looking at a photograph of you, and I've been thinking about all the ways you move. This isolation got me feeling like I'm moving my love. Yeah, when I wake up, I feel empty, not beside you. My whole life been searching just to find you. This quality, it hasn't got the right to keep us apart. Killing time, we got nowhere to be. You're sending messages I can't ignore. No contemplating, come here close to me. I'm bored at home, can't leave the house no more. But I've been looking at a photograph of you, and I've been thinking about all the ways you move. This isolation got me feeling like I'm losing my love. Yeah, when I wake up, I feel empty, not beside you. My whole life been searching just to find you. This quality, it hasn't got the right to keep us apart. You, when I wake up, I feel empty, not beside you. My whole life been searching just to find you. Quality, it hasn't got the right to keep us apart.
I hope you're having a good morning, folks. How are y'all doing today? Hey, Clancy, good to see you. Good morning. Crazy chicken lady. The best mod ever. Crazy chicken lady. Mountain Violet, good to see you. All right. And Lane, good to see you. All right. Everybody's having a good Wednesday, I hope. Yeah, hump day. I'm doing awesome. Just uploaded a video of Western wanted posters from 1900. Y'all check out Clancy's channel. He's got a lot of cool, interesting stuff. All right. I hope everybody's having a good day. All right. Let me tell you what I've been doing. I have been watching social media being grilled by Congress as we speak. Are you interested in watching some of the footage? If so, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and let's watch some of it. Clancy, I've seen that. Really interesting. I found some old Western pictures my boss had. All right, all right, all right. Well, all right, all right, all right. Okay, let's go to, let me pull it up here. I was just watching it, man. It was like, it had my heart racing, man. It has all of them there. It's got Snapchat, it's got Instagram, it's got all of them there, man, getting grilled by social media. Woo! Okay, let me go to my history. Where's my history? Where's my snare? Where's my snare? Your channel history. Okay, here we go. There's Clancy because I watched him before I went live. Here we go. Let's see if there's a commercial first. There is. Let's see here. This is really good stuff, y'all. It's about us, so we have to pay attention to what's happening in the real world. It's going to affect us. Watch.
And our challenge is to take the data and to make good decisions about protecting families and children from harm. So let me ask about what your companies do or don't report. And I'm going to particularly focus on your content policies around self-harm and suicide. And I'm just going to ask a series of yes or no
trigger
questions.
warning.
And what I'm getting at is, do you disclose enough? Mr. Zuckerberg, from your policies prohibiting content about suicide or self-harm, do you report an estimate of the total amount of content, not a percentage of the overall, not a prevalence number, but the total amount of content on your platform that violates this policy?
Hey,
And
Freeside.
do you report the total number of views that self-harm or suicide promoting content that violates this policy gets on your platform?
Yes, Senator. We pioneered a quarterly reporting on our community standards enforcement across all these different categories of harmful content. We focus on prevalence, which you mentioned, because what we're focused on is what % of the content that we take down.
So, Mr. Zuckerberg, I'm going to interrupt you, and you're very talented. I have very little time left. I'm trying to get an answer to a question. Not as a percentage of the total, because remember, it's a huge number, so the percentage is small. But do you report the actual amount of content and the amount of views self-harm content received?
No, I believe we focus on prevalence.
Correct. You don't. Ms. Yacarina, yes or no? You report it or you don't?
Senator, as a reminder, we have less than 1% of our users that are between the ages of 13 and 17.
Do you report
And
the absolute number
We
of how many
report the
images and
number
how
of
often?
Oh my
posts
God,
and
they're
accounts
so
that we've
evasive
taken
in their
down.
answers.
In 2023,
Yes.
we've taken over almost 1 million posts down that in regards to mental health and self-harm.
Mr. Chu, do you disclose the number of appearances of these types of content and how many are viewed before they're taken?
Of violation and how many of that were taken down proactively before it was reported?
Mr. Spiegel?
Yes, Senator, we do disclose.
Mr. Citron?
Yes, we do.
So I've got 3 more questions I'd love to walk through if I had unlimited time. I will submit them for the record. The larger point is that platforms need to hand over more content about how the algorithms work, what the content does, and what the consequences are. Not at the aggregate, not at the population level, but the actual numbers of cases so we can understand the content. In closing, Mr. Chairman, I have a bipartisan bill, the Platform Accountability and Transparency Act, co-sponsored by Senators Cornyn, Klobuchar, Blumenthal on this committee, and Senator Cassidy.
This will
and others.
affect us.
It's in front of the Commerce Committee, not this committee. But it would set reasonable standards for disclosure and transparency to make sure that we're doing our jobs based on data. Yes, there's a lot of emotion in this field, understandably. But if we're going to legislate responsibly about the management of the content on your platforms, We need to have better data. Is there any one of you willing to say now that you support this bill? Mr. Chairman, let the record reflect a yawning silence from the leaders of the social media platforms. Thank
Oh,
you.
Thanks,
wow.
Senator Coons. We're on the first of two roll calls. And so please understand if some of the members leave and come back, it's no disrespect. They're doing their job. Senator Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tragically, survivors of sexual abuse are often repeatedly
Trigger warning.
victimized and re-victimized over and over and over again by having non-consensual images of themselves on social media platforms. There's a NCMEC study that pointed out there was one instance of CSAM that reappeared more than 490,000 times after it had been reported. After it had been reported.
After it's been
So we
reported.
need tools in order to deal
Hey,
with this.
Buttercup.
We need,
Yay.
frankly, laws in order to mandate standards so that this doesn't happen, so that we have a systematic way of getting rid of this stuff. Because there is literally no plausible justification, no way of defending this. One
I'm
tool,
getting you
one
your
that I think
wrench
would be
now,
particularly
Buttercup.
effective is a bill that I'll be introducing
We missed
later
you.
today, and I invite all my committee members to join me. It's called the PROTECT Act. The PROTECT Act would, in pertinent part, require websites to verify age and verify that they've received consent of any and all individuals appearing on their site in pornographic images. And it also require platforms to have meaningful processes for an individual seeking to have images of him or herself removed in a timely manner. Ms. Yacarino, based on your understanding of existing law, what might it take for a person to have those images removed, say from X?
Senator Lee, thank you. It sounds like what you're going to introduce into law in terms of ecosystem-wide and user consent sounds exactly like part of the philosophy of why we're supporting the SHIELD Act. And no one should have to endure non-consensual images being shared online.
Yep. And without that, without laws in place, and it's fantastic anytime a company, as you've described with yours,
What's
wants
y'all's
to take
thoughts on
those
this?
steps, it's very helpful. It can take a lot longer than it should, and sometimes it does, to the point where somebody had images shared 490,000 times after it was reported to the authorities, and that's deeply concerning. But yes, the PROTECT Act would work in tandem with. It's a good complement to the SHIELD Act. Mr. Zuckerberg, let's turn to you next. As you know, I feel strongly about privacy and believe that one of the best protections for an individual's privacy online involves end-to-end encryption. We also know that a great deal of grooming and sharing of CSAM happens to occur on end-to-end encrypted systems. Tell me, does Meta allow juvenile accounts on its platform to use encrypted messaging services within those apps?
Sorry, Senator, what do you mean juvenile?
18.
Under 18. We allow people under the age of 18 to use WhatsApp, and we do allow that to be encrypted, yes.
Do you have a bottom level age at which they're not allowed to use it?
Yeah,
Can a child of any
people,
age?
I don't think we allow people under the age of 13.
I don't think.
What about you, Mr.
Said I
Citron?
don't think.
On Discord, do you allow kids to have accounts to access encrypted messaging?
Discord is not allowed to be used by children under the age of 13, and we do not use end-to-end encryption for text messages. We believe that it's very important to be able to respond to well-formed law enforcement requests, and we're also working on proactively building technology. We're working with a nonprofit called Thorn to build a grooming classifier so that our Teen Safety Assist feature can actually identify these conversations if they might be happening, so we can intervene and give those teens tools to get out of that situation, or potentially even report those conversations and those people to law enforcement.
And encryption, as much as it can
Thank
prove
you, Buttercup,
useful elsewhere,
baby.
it can be harmful.
How can we trust anyone? They
No,
don't care
children
about
are
us, do
being
they?
groomed and
Listen
exploited.
to their
If
answers.
you
It's
allow children
awful. I'm going to
onto
rewind in a minute and show you a.
enabled app, that
I
can
don't-
prove problematic. Now, let's go back to you for a moment, Mr. Zuckerberg. Instagram recently announced that it's going to restrict all teenagers from
Okay, thanks,
access
Kim.
to eating disorder material, suicidal ideation themed material, self-harm content, and that's fantastic. That's great. What's odd, what I'm trying to understand is why it is that Instagram is only restricting, it's restricting access to sexually explicit content, but only for teens ages 13 to 15. Why not restrict it for 16 and 17-year-olds as well?
Senator, my understanding is that we don't allow sexually explicit content on the service for people of any age.
How is that going?
You know, our prevalence
Wow.
metrics suggest that I think
Wow.
it's 99% or so of the content that we remove, we're able to identify automatically
He's
using
not
AI
looking good
systems.
at all
So
today.
I think that our efforts in this, while they're not perfect, I think are industry leading. The other thing that you asked about was self-harm content, which is what we recently restricted. And we made that shift. I think the state of the science is shifting a bit. Previously, we believed that when people were thinking about self-harm, it was important for them to be able to express that and get support. And now more of the thinking in the field is that it's just better to not show that content at all, which is why we recently moved to restrict that from showing up for those teens at all.
Okay, is there a way for parents to make a request on what their kid can see or not see on your sites?
There are a lot of parental controls. I'm not sure if I don't think that we currently have a control around topics, but we do allow parents to control the time that the children are on the site, and also based on kind of monitoring and understanding what the teen's experience is. What they're interacting with,
Mr.
et cetera.
Citrin, Discord allows pornography on its site. Now, reportedly, 17% of minors who use Discord have had online sexual interactions on your platform, 17%, and 10%
Trigger warning.
have those interactions with someone that the minor believed to be an adult. Do you restrict minors from accessing Discord servers that host pornographic material on them?
Senator, yes, we do restrict minors from accessing content that is marked for adults. Discord also does not recommend content to people. Discord is a chat app. We do not have a feed or an algorithm that boosts content. So we
Hilarious.
allow adults to share content with other adults in adult-labeled spaces.
Hey,
We do
Night
not allow
Owl.
teens
Good to
access that
see
content.
you.
Welcome, everyone.
So funny.
We
Hey,
are,
SDA. Good to
here in
see
this
you.
room Because as a collective, your platforms really suck at policing themselves. We hear about it here in Congress with fentanyl and other drug dealing facilitated across platforms. We see it and hear about it here in Congress with
We've done hard time at
harassment and
Facebook
bullying
jail, ain't we, Night Owl?
take place across your platforms.
We're hardcore
We see
thugs
it
of
and hear about
Facebook.
it here in Congress with respect to child pornography, sexploitation.
The title of my
blackmail.
show is Social
And we
Media
are
is
sick of
Being
it.
Grilled by Congress, and I do mean all.
It seems to
Snapchat,
me
all of them. They're here.
that there
All of
is
them are
a
here.
Problem with accountability because these conditions continue to persist. In my view, Section 230, which provides immunity from lawsuit, is a very significant part of that problem. If you look at where bullies have been brought to heel recently, whether it's Dominion finally getting justice against Fox News after a long campaign to try to discredit the election equipment manufacturer, or whether it's the moms and dads of the Sandy Hook victims finally getting justice, against InfoWars and its campaign of trying to get people to believe that the massacre of their
Hey,
children
Stiggy, good to see you.
put on by them, or even now, more recently, with a writer getting a very significant judgment against Donald Trump after years of bullying and defamation. An honest courtroom has proven to be the place where these things get sorted out. And I'll just describe one case, if I may. It's called Doe versus Twitter. The plaintiff in that case was blackmailed in 2017 for sexually explicit photos and videos of himself, then aged 13 to 14. A compilation video of multiple CSAM videos
Yes, SDA,
surfaced
I
on
did.
Twitter
He said, I thought she's
in
into it. I thought she
2019.
liked it.
A concerned citizen reported that video on December 25th, 2019, Christmas Day. Twitter took no action. The plaintiff, then a minor in high school in 2019, became aware of this video from his classmates in January of 2020. You're a high school kid, and suddenly there's that. That's a day that's hard to recover from. Ultimately, he became suicidal. He and his parents contacted law enforcement and Twitter to have these videos removed on January 21st and again on January 22nd of 2020. And Twitter ultimately took down the video on January 30th, 2020.
You're awesome.
Once federal law enforcement got
Y'all getting it
involved.
straight.
That's a pretty foul set of facts. And when the family sued Twitter for all those months of refusing to take down the explicit video of this child, Twitter invoked Section 230. And the district court ruled that the claim was barred. There is nothing about that set of facts that tells
They don't
me that
seem real
Section 230
concerned, do
performed
they?
Any public service in that regard. I would like to see very substantial adjustments to Section 230 so that the honest courtroom, which brought relief and justice to E. Jean Carroll after months of defamation, which brought silence, peace, and justice to the parents of the Sandy Hook children after months of defamation and bullying by InfoWars and Alex Jones, and which brought significant justice and an end to the campaign of defamation by Fox News to a little company that was busy just making election machines. So I would, my time is running out. I'll turn to, I guess Senator Cruz is next. But I would like to have each of your companies put in writing what exemptions from the protection of Section 230 you would be willing to accept, bearing in mind the fact situation in Doe versus Twitter, bearing in mind the enormous harm that was done to that young person and that family by the non-responsiveness of this enormous platform.
Hey, Army
over
Vet,
months
good
and
to
months
see
and
ya.
months and months. Again, think of what it's like to be a high school kid
Where is
and have
it,
that
Buttercup?
stuff
Because
up
I
in the
went to that
public
channel and
domain.
couldn't find it.
and have the company that is holding it out there in the public domain react so disinterestedly.
I've been backing up my stuff since
Okay.
I started. When I
you
saw
put
how
that
they
down in
play
writing
Dirty
for me?
Pool here, I've started backing up my shit
2,
ASAP.
3, 4, 5 yeses. Done. Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Social
They're
media is a
called
very powerful
VHS
tool.
tapes, something nobody can
Here
take
in
from me.
Texas, every
Got
parent
it
I know,
downloaded
and I
on
think every parent in
VHS
America
tapes.
is terrified
In internet
about the
Bible
garbage
class,
that
we
is
were
directed
listening
at
to
our
laughing.
kids.
We know what they're saying
I
and
have
what
2
they're
teenagers
not.
at home.
That's right.
And the phones they have are portals
Hey,
to
Leah.
predators, to viciousness, to bullying, to
Good to see you
self-harm.
here.
And each of your companies could do a lot more to prevent it. Mr. Zuckerberg, in June of 2023, the Wall Street Journal reported that Instagram's recommendation systems were actively connecting pedophiles to accounts that were advertising the sale of child sexual abuse material. In many cases, those accounts appeared to be run by underage children themselves, often using code words and emojis to advertise illicit material. In other cases, the accounts included indicia that the victim was being sex trafficked.
Thank you, Buttercup.
Now, I know that Instagram has the team that works to prevent the abuse and exploitation of children online. But what was particularly concerning about the Wall Street Journal expose was the degree to which Instagram's own algorithm was promoting the discoverability of victims for pedophiles seeking child abuse material. In other words, this material wasn't just living on the dark corners of Instagram. Instagram was helping pedophiles find it by promoting graphic hashtags, including hashtag pedwhore and hashtag preteen sex to potential buyers. Instagram also displayed the following warning screen to individuals who were searching for child abuse material. These results may contain images of child sexual abuse. And then you gave users 2 choices. Get resources or see results anyway. Mr. Zuckerberg, what the hell were you thinking?
All right, Senator. The basic science behind that is that when people are searching for something that is problematic, it's often helpful to, rather than just blocking it, to help direct them towards something that that could be helpful for getting them to get help.
In what,
And we
I
also-
understand get resources. In what sane universe is there a link for see results anyway?
Well, because we might be wrong. We try to trigger this warning, or we tried to, when we think that there's any chance that the results
Okay, you might be
harmful.
wrong. Let me ask you, how many times was this warning screen displayed?
I don't know, but the
Hey, you
if
don't
there's-
know. Why don't you know?
Wow.
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. But
Well, you know what, Mr. Zuckerberg? It's interesting you say you don't know it off the top of your head, because I asked it in June of 2023 in an oversight letter, and your company refused to answer. Will you commit right now to within 5 days answering this question for this committee?
we'll follow up on that.
Is that a yes? Not a will follow up. I know how lawyers write statements saying we're not going to answer. Will you tell us how many times this warning screen was displayed? Yes or no?
Senator, I'll personally look into it. I'm not sure if we have.
Okay, so you're refusing to answer that. Let me ask you this. How many times did an Instagram user who got this warning that you're seeing images of child sexual abuse, how many times did that user click on see results anyway? I want to see that.
Senator, I'm not sure if we stored that, but I'll personally look into this and we'll follow up after.
And what follow-up did Instagram do
Bots,
when you have
right, Army Vet.
a potential pedophile clicking on, I'd like to see child porn? What did you do next when that happened?
Senator, I think that an important piece of context here is that any context that we think is child
Mr.
sexual
Zuckerberg,
abuse.
that's called a question. What did you do next when someone clicked, you may be getting child sexual abuse images, and they click, see results anyway? What was your next step? You said you might be wrong. Did anyone examine, was it in fact child sexual abuse material? Did anyone report that user? Did anyone go and try to protect that child? What did you do next?
Senator, we take down anything that we think is sexual abuse material on the service, and we do.
Did anyone
report to-
verify whether it was in fact child sexual abuse material?
Senator, I don't know if every single search result we're following up on, but
Did you report the people who wanted it?
Senator, do you want me to answer your
Yeah,
question?
I want you to answer the question I'm asking. Did you
Give me some
report
time to
the
speak then.
people who click see results anyway?
That's probably one of the factors that we use in reporting. And in general, and we've reported more people and done more reports like this to NCMEC, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, than any other company in the industry. We proactively go out of our way across our services to do this and have made, I think it's more than 26 million reports, which is more than the whole rest of the industry combined. So
Mr.
I think that
Zuckerberg,
an
Mr.
allegation
Zuckerberg,
that we
your
that we don't take
company
this
and every
seriously-
social media company needs to do much more to protect children. All right, Mr. Chu, in the next couple of minutes I have, I want to turn to you. You're familiar with China's 2017 National Intelligence Law, which states, quote, all organizations and citizens shall support, assist, and cooperate with national intelligence efforts in accordance with the law and shall protect national intelligence work secrets they are aware of.
Yes, I'm familiar with this.
TikTok is owned by ByteDance. Is ByteDance subject to the law?
For the Chinese businesses that ByteDance owns, yes, it will be subject to this, but TikTok is not available in mainland China. And Senator, as we talked about in your office, we
TikTok
built
isn't
Project Texas to
available in
put this out of reach.
China.
So ByteDance is subject to the law. Now, under this law, which says shall protect national intelligence work secrets they are aware of, it compels people subject to the law to lie, to protect those secrets. Is that correct?
I cannot comment on that. What I said again is that we have
Because
moved
you
it
have
out
to
of reach
protect those
today.
secrets?
No, Senator, TikTok is not available in mainland China. We have moved the data into an American cloud
TikTok
infrastructure.
is
and-
controlled by ByteDance, which is subject to this law. Now, you said earlier,
They
you said,
didn't
and I
come
wrote this down,
prepared.
we have not been asked for any data by the Chinese government, and we have never provided it. I'm going to tell you, and I told this when you and I met last week in my office, I do not believe you. And
I
I'll
don't
tell you, the
believe him
American
either.
people
They
don't
asked
either.
him if he was giving data to China.
If
He
you
said,
look
no,
at
I'm
what
not
is on
giving China.
TikTok, in
Bullshit.
China, you are promoting to kids science and math videos, educational videos, and you limit the amount of time kids can be on TikTok. In the United States, you are promoting to kids self-harm videos.
Yep, they are. I've seen them myself.
And
That's true.
anti-Israel propaganda. Why is there such a dramatic difference?
Senator, that is just not accurate.
It is accurate.
there's a
There's
lot of-
not a difference
It
between what
is
kids see in
accurate.
China and what kids see here?
Senator, TikTok is not available in China. It's a separate experience there. What I'm saying
But
is,
you have a company that is essentially the same, except it promotes beneficial materials instead of harmful materials.
that is
Yes,
not
that's
true.
true.
We have
That
a
is
lot of science
true.
and math content here on TikTok. There's so much of it.
All right,
I created a STEM feed for
Okay, let me
100 billion views.
point to this, Mr. Chu. There was a report recently that compared hashtags on Instagram to hashtags on TikTok, and what trended, and the differences were striking. So, for something like hashtag Taylor Swift or hashtag Trump, researchers found roughly 2 Instagram posts for every 1 on TikTok. That's not a dramatic difference. That difference jumps to 8 to 1 for the hashtag Uyghur. And it jumps to 30 to 1 for the hashtag Tibet. And it jumps to 57 to 1 to the hashtag Tiananmen Square. And it jumps to 174 to 1 for the hashtag Hong Kong protest. Why is it that on Instagram, people can put up a hashtag Hong Kong protest 174 times compared to TikTok? What censorship is TikTok doing at the request of the Chinese government?
None. Senator, that analysis
explain
is
that
flawed.
differential.
The analysis is flawed. It's been debunked by other external sources like
Dude's
the
a
Cato Institute.
liar.
Fundamentally,
Chow
a few
Chu
things
is
happen
full
here.
of
Not
shit.
all videos carry hashtags. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you cannot selectively choose a few words within a certain
Why
time
the
period.
difference between Taylor Swift and Tiananmen Square? What happened in Tiananmen Square?
Senator, there was a massive protest during that time. But what I'm trying to say is our users can freely come and post this
Why
content.
would there be no difference on Taylor Swift, or a minimal difference and a massive difference on Tiananmen Square or Hong Kong?
Senator, could you wrap up, please?
Senator, our algorithm does not suppress any
Hey,
content
Kim.
simply.
Question, why
Yeah.
is there a difference?
Like I said, I think this analysis is flawed. You're selectively choosing some words over some periods. We haven't been around this
There is
long.
on compared to Taylor Swift is dramatic.
Senator Blumenauer.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zuckerberg,
Blumenthal. Oh, I'm sorry.
thank you.
I know both of them.
That was good enough. Mr. Zuckerberg, you know who Antigone Davis is, correct?
Yes.
She's one of your top leaders. In
Thank you,
September of 2021, she was global head of safety, correct?
Yes.
And you know that she came before a subcommittee of the Commerce Committee that I chaired at the time, Subcommittee on Consumer Protection, correct?
Yes.
And she was testifying on behalf of Facebook, right?
Meta, but yes.
It was then Facebook, but Meta now. And she told us, and I'm quoting,
Oh, give me a break.
Facebook
He's so
is
into
committed
semantics.
to building better products for young people and to doing everything we can to protect their privacy, safety, and
Kim.
well-being on our platforms. And she
Taylor
also
Swift
said,
is the devil.
kid safety is an area where, quote, we are investing heavily,
I'm
end
going to
quote.
let you know
We now know that
what's going on, so
statement
you
was
don't worry. God, I love
untrue.
you, Stiggy.
We know it from
Things are
an
going
internal
on that are
email
going to happen.
that
Believe me
we
or
have
not. I do
received.
believe you. Don't worry.
It's an
we are
email written by Nick
waking up
Clegg.
the
You know
people.
who he is,
Some
correct?
have no clue.
Yes.
He was
I sure am glad you're
Meta's
here, Stiggy. We
president
love
of
you.
Global Affairs. And he wrote a memo to you, which you received, correct? It was written to you.
So I can't see the email, but sure, I'll assume that you got that correct.
And he summarized Facebook's problems. He said, quote, we are not on track to succeed for our core well-being topics: problematic use, bullying and harassment, connections, and SSI, meaning suicidal self-injury.
Trigger warning.
He said also in another memo, quote, we need to do more and we are being held back by a lack of investment. This memo has the date of August 28th, just weeks before that testimony from Antigone Davis, correct?
Sorry, Senator, I'm not sure what the date of the testimony was.
Well, those are the dates on the emails. Nick Clegg was asking you, pleading with you for resources to back up the narrative,
I think
to
Zuckerberg
fulfill
acts like an
the
android.
commitments. In effect,
I think he's a
Antigone Davis
robot.
was making promises that Nick Clegg was trying
Did
to
anyone
fulfill.
see the article
and
yesterday
you
where
rejected that
Elon Musk
request
has
for
successfully implanted the
45
first
to 84
microchip into a
engineers
human?
to do well-being
I'm going to share
or
that
safety?
too.
We know that you rejected it from another memo, Nick Clegg's assistant, Tim Colburn, who said, Nick did email Mark, referring to that earlier email, to emphasize his support for the package, but it lost out to the various
ABC
other
News
pressures
reported
and
what to know about
priorities.
Elon Musk's
We've done a
Neuralink
calculation
brain chip implant that was
those
successfully in a
Potentially
human
84 engineers would cost
first for the company, January 30th,
Meta
2024. I'm going
about
to share it,
$50
ABC
million
News.
in a quarter when it earned $9.2 billion. And yet it failed to make that
Thank you,
commitment in
Kim.
real terms, and you rejected that request because of other pressures and priorities. That is an example from your own internal document of failing to act, and it is the reason why we can no longer
This is the
trust
article
Meta
I'm putting in chat
and,
about the
frankly,
first human
any of the other social
microchip
media
successfully being implanted
to-
yesterday.
in effect, grade their own homework. The public, and
They're
particularly
turning
friends
us
in
into
this room,
robots.
know that we can no longer
They
rely
can
on
control a
social media
robot.
to provide the kind of safeguards
Feel me?
that children and parents deserve. It's
all about
That is the
control.
reason why passing the Kids Online Safety Act is so critically important. Mr. Zuckerberg, do you believe that you have a constitutional right to lie to Congress?
Senator, no, but I mean.
Well, let me just
You just put up a
clarify
bunch of
for
things. I
you
mean, I'd like
in-
the
I think you're
opportunity
right,
to-
just
Diggy.
clarify
People are
for
starting to
you.
figure out what's going on now. They're
in
slowly
a
turning
lawsuit
us
brought
into,
by hundreds of parents, some in this very room,
robots, so they can
alleging that you
control
made
us, y'all.
false
They
and
couldn't do it
misleading statements concerning the
biochemically,
safety of your platform
but
for
they
children.
tried.
You argued in not just one pleading, but twice, in December
Some of
and
the
then in
people here are
January,
not real, know they're
that
bots.
you have a
We know they're
constitutional right
bots. You can
to
buy,
lie to Congress. Do you
not supposed
disavow
to, but
that
you can buy bots.
filing in court?
Senator, I don't know what filing you're talking about, but I testified
You mean
filing
Tina
honestly,
Simmerly wasn't the
truthfully,
first
and
one to do
I
the
would
brain
like
chip
the
implant?
opportunity to
This
respond
is
to the previous
for
things that you
real,
showed as well.
Buttercup. It's
Well, I
real.
have a few
It's
more
like on
questions.
ABC News, right? There's the
And
article.
let me ask
This is not
others
fodder.
who are
It's
here,
real.
because I think it's important to put you on record. Who will support the Kids Online Safety Act?
ABC News.
Yes or no? Mr. Sifford?
Elon Musk Neuralink brain chip.
There are
Right
parts of
there it
the
is.
act that we
So
think are great. and
No,
we-
it's a yes or no question. I'm going to be running out of time, so I'm assuming the answer is no if you can't answer yes.
We very much think that the national privacy
That's a
standard would be
no.
great.
Mr. Siegel?
Senator, we strongly support the Kids Online Safety Act, and we've already implemented many of its core provisions.
Thank you. I welcome that support, along with Microsoft's support. Mr. Chu?
Senator, with some changes, we can support it.
Well, in its present form, do you support it? Yes or no?
We are aware that some groups have raised some concerns. It's important to understand
I'll
how
take
these
that as a
concerns-
no. Ms. Yacarino?
Senator, we support COSA and will continue.
TikTok
to
said
make sure that
no.
It accelerates and make sure it continues to offer community for teens that are seeking that voice.
Mr. Zuckerberg?
Senator, we support the age-appropriate content standards, but would have some
Yes or
suggestions
no,
on how to
Mr.
implement it.
Zuckerberg? Do you support the Kids Online Safety Act? It's
Senator,
a
I think
measure
these are
that is
nuanced
public,
things.
and I'm just
Wow.
asking whether you'll support it or not.
These are nuanced things. I think that the basic spirit is right. I think the basic ideas in it are right, and there are some ideas that I would debate how to best.
Okay,
implement them.
unfortunately, I don't think we can count on social media as a group or big tech to support this measure, and in the
You need to
past, we
change
know
your
it's been
answer,
opposed
Mark.
by armies of lawyers and lobbyists. We're prepared for this fight, but I am very, very glad that we have parents here, because tomorrow we're going to have an advocacy day. And the folks who really count, the people in this room who support this measure, are going to be going
Exactly.
to
That's
their
exactly
representatives
right.
and their senators.
We figured
and
that
their
out
voices
too.
and faces are
We've
going
been
to
here
make
almost
a
3
difference.
years,
Senator
2
Schumer
years, 7
has
months. So
committed that he
we
will
slowly
work
figured
with
that
me
out,
to
Fairy
bring
Love.
this bill to a vote. And then we will have real protection for children and parents online. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal.
You see how much
We
he
have a
is
vote
like
on- has Senator Patton,
nervous?
have
You can
voted
tell
on-
this dude's nervous.
and Senator Hawley, you haven't voted yet. You're next. And I don't know how
I
long
wish
the
I
vote
had
will be.
some gummies. I gotta wait till payday tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zuckerberg, let me
Cash
start
out me
with you.
$5
Did I
so
hear
I
you
can get me some
say
gummies.
in your
Army
opening
vet.
statement that there's no link between mental health and social media
I want a
use?
gummy. I gotta get a pizza
Senator, what I
and a
said
gummy.
is I think it's important to look at the science. I
Help
know
a
it's
girl out.
people widely talk
I'm
about this as if
entertaining
that
ya.
is something that's already been proven. And I think that the bulk of the scientific evidence does not support
I'm
that.
without too.
Really? Let me
Tomorrow's
just remind you
payday.
of some of the science
We're
from your
so
own
broke.
company. Instagram studied the effect of your platform on teenagers. Let Let me just read you some quotes from the Wall Street Journal's report on this. Company researchers found that Instagram is harmful for a sizable percentage of teenagers, most notably teenage girls. Here's a quote from your own study. Quote, "We make body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls." Here's another quote. "Teens blamed Instagram," this is your study, "for increases in the rate of anxiety and depression. This reaction was unprompted and consistent across all groups." That's your study.
Senator, we try to understand the feedback and how people feel about the services. We can improve
Wait a
them.
minute,
I
your
think
own
those studies are-
study says that you make
Yeah, I
life
know,
worse
Fairy
for 1 in
Love.
3
They try
teenage
to-
girls.
they try to
You
do that to
increase
you.
That's not
anxiety
what it
and
says.
depression. That's what it says, and you're here testifying to us in public that there's no link. You've been doing this for years. For
Does-
years, you've been coming in public and testifying under oath that there's absolutely no link. Your product is wonderful. The science is nascent, full speed ahead, while internally, you know full well your product is a disaster for teenagers.
Senator,
And yet
that's
you
not
keep
true.
right on doing what you're doing, right?
That's not true. That's not true.
Let me show you some other facts I know that you're familiar with. Wait a minute,
Both my
That's not a
kids went
question.
through
That's not a
suicidal
question. Those are
ideation
facts,
because
Mr.
of
Zuckerberg. That's
fucking
not a question.
Instagram. Those
Let me
images
show you some more facts.
die,
Here's
suicide.
some information
It was
from a whistleblower
unreal.
who
It
came
was
before
the
the Senate,
weirdest shit I'd
testified
ever
under
seen,
oath
and
in
I took
public.
it
He
off
worked
their
for you.
phone. I
He's
was
a
like,
senior
hell to
executive.
the no.
Here's what he showed
We're gonna
he
play games
found
in the living
when
room
he
like old
studied
people.
your products. So, for example, this is girls between the ages of 13 and 15 years old. 37% of them reported that they had been exposed to nudity on the platform unwanted in the last 7 days.
Thank you, Sticky.
24% said that they had experienced unwanted sexual advances they'd been propositioned
I
in the
don't have
last
any.
7 days. 17% said they had encountered
don't have any.
self-harm content pushed at them in the last 7 days. Now, I know you're familiar with these stats because he sent you an email where he lined it all out. I mean, we've got a copy of it right here. My question is, who did you fire for this? Who got fired because of that?
Senator, we study all of this because it's important and we want to improve our services.
Well, you just told
And
me
I
a
think
second
that
ago
the-
you studied it, but that there was
You
no
don't want to
linkage.
improve your services.
Who did you
Senator,
fire?
Yeah, I said you mischaracterized. the data.
37% of teenage girls between 13 and 15 were exposed to unwanted nudity in a
Yeah,
week
exactly,
on
Night Owl.
Instagram. You knew about
That's what
it.
I
Who
did.
you
I just
fire?
took it off the damn
Senator,
phone.
this is why we're building all
Who
the
did you fire?
tools. Senator, I don't think that's,
Who did you fire?
I'm not going to answer that. That's, I
Because
mean,
you
this
didn't
is-
fire anybody, right? You didn't take any
Senator, I
significant
don't think
action.
It's appropriate to talk about like
It's not
individual HR
appropriate.
decisions.
Do you know who's sitting behind you? You've got families from across the nation whose children are either severely harmed or gone, and you don't think it's appropriate to talk about steps that you took? The fact that you didn't fire a
I'm
single
happy
person?
to-
Let me
happy
ask
to
you
talk
this.
about
Let me
the
ask you
steps
this.
that we took.
Have you
Let me
compensated
speak.
any of the victims?
Sorry?
Have you compensated any of the victims? These
I-
girls, have you compensated them?
I don't believe so.
Why not? Don't you think they deserve some compensation for what your platform has done? Help with
Senator-
counseling services, help with dealing with the issues that your service has caused?
Our job is to make sure that we build tools to help keep people safe.
Are you
across
going
our
to
platform.
compensate them?
Senator, our job and what we take seriously is making sure that we build industry-leading tools to find harmful
To make
content,
money.
take it off the services.
To make money.
And to build tools that empower parents.
So you
that
didn't
help
take
more
any
people.
action, you didn't
That's not
take any
true,
action, you
Senator.
didn't fire anybody, you haven't
That's not true.
compensated a
That's
single
not-
victim.
that's
Let
not
me
what I
ask you
said.
this, let me ask you this. There's families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now?
Well-
They're here, you're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures. Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good
Holy
people?
shit. Holy shit. Wow. Oh my God, they're holding up pictures of dead children. Oh my gosh, look at that. Who was this congressman speaking? He rocks. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'm shaking. This is awesome.
You know, why, Mr. Zuckerberg, why should your company not be
Hey, sweet
sued
Melissa.
for this?
Thank you. I'm
Why
glad you're
is it that
back.
you
You're
can
missed.
hide behind
They
a
don't
liability
care.
shield? You can't be held accountable. Shouldn't you be held accountable personally? Will you take personal responsibility?
Senator, I think I've already answered this. I mean, these
Well,
are
try
He's
it
going to
again. Will you take
Facebook
personal
jail.
responsibility?
He's going
Senator,
to
I view
Facebook
my
jail.
job and the job of our company is building the best tools that we can to keep our community safe.
Well, you're failing at
and
that.
Well, Senator, we're doing an industry-leading effort. We build AI tools that
Nonsense. Your product is killing people. Will you personally commit to compensating the victims? You're a billionaire. Will you commit to compensating the
Whoa.
victims? Will you set up a compensation fund with your
Oh my
money?
God.
These are
With your money.
complicated- Senator, these are complicated
Yes, no,
issues.
that's not a complicated question, though. That's a
Senator,
yes or no.
this is-
Will you set up a victims' compensation fund with your money? The money you made on these families sitting behind you? Yes or no?
Oh my God.
I don't think that's, my job is to
Sounds like a no.
build good tools. My
Sounds
job
like a
is to
no.
make sure that,
Your job is to be responsible for what your company has done. You've made billions of dollars on
Mark
the people sitting
Zuckerberg's
behind
a
them, you here.
narcissist.
You've done nothing to help them. You've done nothing
Hell
to
yeah!
compensate them. You've done nothing to put it right. You could do so here today, and you should. You should, Mr. Zuckerberg.
good.
Before my time expires, Mr. Chu, let me just ask you, your platform, why should your platform not be banned in the United States of America? You are owned by a Chinese communist company or a company based in China. The editor-in-chief of your parent company is a Communist Party secretary. Your company has been
Thank you,
surveilling
Melissa.
Americans for years. According to leaked audio from more than 80 internal TikTok meetings, China-based employees of your company have repeatedly accessed non-public data of United States citizens. Your company has tracked journalists improperly gaining access to their IP addresses, user data, in an attempt to identify whether they're writing negative stories about you. Why should, your platform is basically an espionage arm for the Chinese Communist Party. Why should you not be banned in
Espionage.
the United States of America?
Senator, I disagree with your characterization. Many of what you have said, we have explained in a lot of detail. TikTok is used by 170 million Americans.
I
who
know, and every
create
single
love.
one of those Americans are in danger from the fact that you track their keystrokes, you track their app usage, you track their location data, and we know that all of that information can be accessed by Chinese employees who are subject to the dictates of the Chinese Communist Party.
That is
Why,
not-
why should you not be banned in this country?
Senator, that is not accurate. A lot of what you describe we collect, we don't.
It is 100% accurate. Do you deny that repeatedly Americans' data has been accessed by ByteDance employees in China?
We built a project that cost us billions of dollars to
Yes,
stop that,
Night Owl.
and we have made a lot of progress.
And it
I think-
hasn't been stopped.
It's
According to the Wall
all
Street Journal
social
report
media.
from just yesterday,
CEOs.
even now, ByteDance workers, without going through official channels, have access to the private information of American citizens. I'm quoting from the article, private information of American citizens, including their birth date, their IP address, and more. That's now.
Senator, as we know, the media doesn't always get it right. What we have.
But the Chinese Communist Party does?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we've spent billions of dollars to build this project. It's rigorous, it's robust, it's unprecedented, and I'm proud of the work that the 2,000 employees are doing to protect the data.
But
American
it's
users.
not protected. That's the problem, Mr. Chu. It's not protected at all. It's subject to Communist Chinese Party inspection and review. Your app, unlike anybody else sitting here, and heaven knows I've got problems with everybody here, but your app, unlike any of those, is subject to the control and inspection of a foreign
wow,
hostile
Sticky.
government that has actively trying to track the information of whereabouts of every American that they get their hands on. Your app ought to be banned in the United States of America for the security of this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Whoever that was
Senator
awesome.
Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we've heard, children face all sorts of dangers when they use social media, from mental health harms to sexual exploitation, even trafficking. Sex trafficking is a serious problem in my home state of Hawaii, especially for Native Hawaiian victims. That social media platforms are being used to facilitate this trafficking, as well as the creation and distribution of C-SCAM is deeply concerning, but it's happening. For example, several years ago, a military police officer stationed in Hawaii was sentenced to 15 years in prison for producing C-SCAM as part of his online exploitation of a minor female. He began communicating with this 12-year-old girl through Instagram. He then used Snapchat to send her sexually explicit photos and to solicit such photos from her. He later used these photos to blackmail her. And just last month, the FBI arrested a neo-Nazi cult leader in Hawaii who lured victims to his Discord server. He used that server to share images of extremely disturbing child sexual abuse material interspersed with neo-Nazi imagery. Members of his child exploitation and hate group are also present on Instagram, Snapchat, X, and TikTok, all of which they use to recruit potential members and victims. In many cases, including the ones I just mentioned, your companies played a role in helping law enforcement investigate these offenders. But by the time of the investigation, so much damage had already been done. This hearing is about how to keep children safe online, and we've listened to all of your testimony to seemingly impressive safeguards for young users. You try to limit the time that they spend. You require parental consent. You have all of these tools, yet trafficking and exploitation of minors online and on your platforms continues to be rampant. Nearly all of your companies make your money through advertising, specifically by selling the attention of your users. Your product.
Thank you,
is
SDA.
your
I
users.
appreciate that $2
As a
super
Meta
sticker.
product designer
Hey,
wrote in
thank you
an
so
email,
much.
quote, "Young ones are the best ones. You want to bring people to your service young and early," end quote. In other words, hook them early. Research published last month by Harvard
Thank you
School
so
of Public
much.
Health estimates that Snap makes an astounding 41% of its revenues by addressing to users under 18. With TikTok, it's 35%. 7 of the 10 largest Discord servers, attracting many paying users, are for games used primarily by teens, by children. All this is to say that social media companies, yours and others, make money by attracting kids to your platforms. But ensuring safety doesn't make money, it costs money. If you are going to continue to attract kids to your platforms, you have an obligation to ensure they are safe on the platforms. Because the current situation
thank
is
you,
untenable. That is why
SDA.
we're having this hearing.
Thank you so much for the
But
$4
to
super
ensure
sticker
safety
and
for
the
our
$2
children,
super
that
sticker.
costs
Thank you so much.
Your
Thank you
companies
so
cannot
much.
continue to profit off young users.
You rock.
Only to look the other way when those users,
If someone
our
could drop
children, are
SDA's
harmed
link, please,
online.
and everyone sub up.
We've
Thank
had
you.
a lot of comments about the Section 230 protections. And I think we are
I
definitely
do
heading in
that,
that direction.
Buttercup.
And some of
They
the
hate
5
it,
bills
but I
that
do
we
it.
have already
They
passed out
hate
of
me
this
for it,
committee
but I do it.
talks about limiting
I delete some of their
liability
apps
protections
too.
for you. Last November, this is for Mr. Zuckerberg.
Yes,
Last
thank you
November,
so much.
the Privacy Technology Subcommittee heard testimony from Arturo Behar.
That's right.
In
Delete
response to
it
one of
or
my
take the
questions
damn
about
phone. That's right,
how to
Army.
ensure that social media companies focus more on child safety. He said, and I am paraphrasing a little bit. Mr. Behar said, what will change their behavior is at the moment that Mark Zuckerberg declares earnings.
I had to get my
And
grandson mental
these earnings
health.
have to be
I
declared to the
did.
SEC.
He was bullied online.
So he has to say, last quarter, we made $34 billion. And the next thing he has to say is, how many teens
got him to drink
experienced
bleach
unwanted
for what is
sexual
it called, a prank?
advances on
You know,
his
what do you
platform?
call it? A
Mr.
double dog
Zuckerberg,
dare ya?
will you commit to reporting measurable child safety data on your quarterly earnings reports and calls?
Senator, it's a good question. We actually already
Yep.
have a quarterly
It did. It happened
report
to
that we
him.
issue and do a call to answer questions for how we're enforcing our community standards. That includes not just the child safety issues and
So
metrics.
is that a yes?
We
we
have a separate
were, I
call
don't
that
know,
we
I
do this
guess
on, but we've
hyper
led
I think
sensitive
that
because of
and
his
you know,
mother
you
being
have to
killed. We
report your
kind
earnings
of
to the SEC.
hovered over
Will
him.
you report to them
And
this
it
kind
saved
of
his
data?
life.
And
Being
by numbers, by the way,
hypervigilant
because
saved
Senator
his
Cruz said,
life.
and others have
Yes.
said, percentages don't really
Yeah,
tell the
we
full
had
story.
to. We
Will
had
you
we had to
report to
delete
the
all kinds of
SEC the
stuff. I don't even think
number
he's on
of
social media anymore.
teens, and sometimes you don't even know where
He
they're
saw what it
teens
was
or not
doing
because they just
to his
claim to be
mind.
adults. Will you report the number of underage children on your platforms who experience unwanted CSAM and other kinds of
I hope you're right, Stiggy. I need
messaging
some grace from
that
God.
that harm
I
them.
need some grace from God. I've had a hell of a life.
Citing those numbers to the SEC when you make your quarterly report.
Well, Senator, I'm not sure
Oh,
if
yeah, thank
we
you,
made the
SDA, for
questions to
coming up,
include
new
in the SEC
member.
policy. We
All
filed it
right,
publicly
thank
so
you
that
so
way everyone can
much.
see
I
this.
appreciate you so
And
much.
I'd be happy to follow
Woo,
up
thank
on
you.
specific checks. I think the specific things that some of the ones that you just mentioned around underage people on our services, we don't allow people under the age of 13 on our service. So if we find anyone who's under the age of 13, we remove them from our service. Now, I'm not
That's a
saying
lie.
that people
No, they
lie and
don't.
that
They
there
don't
aren't
do that.
anyone who's under the age of 13 who's using it, but I'm not going to be able to count how many people there are, because fundamentally, if we identify that someone is underage, we remove them from the
I
service.
think that's really important that we get actual numbers because these are real human beings. That's why all these parents and others are here. Because each time that a young person is exposed to
Okay,
this kind
Nile,
of
thank
unwanted
you.
material and they get hooked,
I'm so
it
glad
is a
you're here.
danger to that individual. So I'm hoping that you are saying that you do report this kind of information to, if not the SEC, that it is made public. I think I'm hearing that, yes, you do. So
Yeah, Senator, I think we report more
I agree, Night now.
on our enforcement than any other company in the industry. And we're very supportive of transparency measures. And
I
and
am
think
running out of time, Mr. Zuckerberg, but so I will follow up with what exactly it is that you do report. Again, for you, when Meta automatically places young people's accounts, and you testified to this, on the most
Thank you so
restrictive
much.
privacy and content sensitivity sessions, and yet teens are able to opt out of these safeguards. Isn't that right?
Drop
It's not
your link,
mandatory
Kim.
that they remain on these settings. They can opt out.
Senator, yes, we default teens into a
Thank you
private
so much.
account,
I'm
so
glad
that
you're
they have a
here.
private and restricted experience, but some teens want to be creators and want to have content that they
Nope.
share more broadly, and I don't think that that's something that should just blanketly be banned.
Why not? I think it should be mandatory that they remain on the more restrictive settings. We have
Senator,
to
I think that
start
there's,
somewhere.
I mean, a lot of teens create amazing things, and I think with the right supervision and parenting and controls, I think that's like, I don't think that that's the type of thing that you want to just not allow anyone to be able to do. I think you want to make it so that.
My time is up, but I have to say that there is an argument that you all make for every single thing that we are proposing. And I share the concern that I have about the blanket limitation on liabilities that we provide all of you. And I
you see
think
the
that
shorts I
has to
put out
change. And that is
today?
on us, on Congress to make that change. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Rono. Senator Cotton.
Mr. Chu, let's cut straight to the chase. Is TikTok under the influence of the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator, we are a private business.
Okay, so you can see that your parent, ByteDance, is subject to the 2017 national security law, which requires Chinese companies to turn over information to the Chinese government and conceal it from the rest of the world. You concede that, correct?
Senator, the Chinese
That's no
business,
question. You conceded it early.
any company that does, any global business that does business in China has to follow their local
Okay.
laws.
Isn't it the case that ByteDance also has an internal Chinese Communist Party committee?
Like I said, all businesses that operate in China have to follow their local laws.
So your parent company is subject to the national security law that requires it to answer to the party. It has its own internal Chinese Communist Party committee. You answer to that parent company, but you expect us to believe that you're not under the influence of the Chinese Communist Party?
I understand this concern, Senator, which is why we built
Okay, it was a
Project
yes, it
Texas.
was a yes or no question. Okay. Well, you used to work for ByteDance, didn't you? You were the CFO for ByteDance?
That is correct, Senator.
In April 2021, while you were the CFO, the Chinese Communist Party's China Internet Investment Fund purchased a 1% stake in ByteDance's main Chinese subsidiary, the ByteDance Technology Company. In return for that so-called 1% golden share, the party took one of 3 board seats at that subsidiary company. That's correct, isn't it?
It's for the Chinese business.
Is that correct?
It's for the Chinese business, yes.
That deal was finalized on April 30th, 2021. Isn't it true that you were appointed the CEO of TikTok the very next day on May 1, 2021?
Well, it's a coincidence.
It's a coincidence that
It
you were
is.
the CFO,
Senator,
that
it
the
is.
Chinese Communist Party took its golden share in
I
its
like
board
her
seat,
voice,
and the
too.
very next day, you were
That's
appointed
the
the CEO
that's
of
the
TikTok.
accent I want
That's
so
a hell of a
bad.
coincidence.
It really is, Senator.
Yeah, it is. Okay. And before ByteDance, you were at Chinese company called Xiaomi, is that correct?
I lived in China,
Where
like many
exact- where-
expats,
Where exactly?
in Beijing in China.
How many years did you live in Beijing?
Senator, I worked there for about 5 years.
So you lived there for 5 years?
Yes.
Isn't it the case that Xiaomi was sanctioned by the United States government in 2021 for being a communist Chinese military company?
I'm here to talk about TikTok. I think they then had a lawsuit and it was overturned.
Oh, thank
I
you.
can't
I
remember. the
appreciate
name.
that.
It was
It
another
was the
company.
Biden administration that reversed those sanctions, just like, by the way, they reversed the terrorist designation on the
I know, I do
Houthis in
too,
Yemen. How's that
Melissa.
working out for them? But it was sanctioned as a Chinese communist military company. So you said today, as you often say, that you live in Singapore. Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation in
ask-
Singapore. No, I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
Yes, and I served my military for two and a half years in
Do you
Singapore.
have any other passports from any other nations?
No, Senator.
Your wife is an American citizen, your children are American citizens.
That's
Have you-
correct.
Have you ever applied for American citizenship?
No, not yet.
Okay. Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm
Okay.
Singaporean.
Let me ask you some hopefully simple questions. You said earlier, in response to a question, that what happened at Tiananmen Square in June of 1989 was a massive protest. Did anything else happen in Tiananmen Square?
Yes, I think it's well documented. There was a massacre.
There was
yeah.
the indiscriminate slaughter of hundreds or thousands of Chinese citizens. Do you agree with the Trump administration and the Biden administration that the Chinese government is committing genocide against the Uyghur people?
Senator, I've said this before. I think it's really important that anyone who cares about this topic or any topic can freely express
Very
themselves on
simple.
TikTok.
It's a very simple question that unites both parties in our country and governments around the world. Is the Chinese government committing genocide against the Uyghur people?
Senator, anyone, including, you can come into
Yes, sir.
TikTok
Yes,
and
sir.
talk
Yes,
about
sir.
this
I'm
topic
asking you
or
yes
any
or no.
topic
You
that
are a
matters to you.
worldly, cosmopolitan, well-educated man who's expressed many opinions on many topics. Is the
Yeah, I
Chinese
can share it on
government
my
committing genocide
Facebook,
against the
and then
Uyghur
you can
people?
share it if you
Actually,
want.
Senator, I talk
I'll
mainly
ta-
about
I'll,
my company, and I'm
Yes,
here to
yes,
talk
sir.
about what
Yes,
I'll,
TikTok does.
what you
Yes or
call
no?
it? I don't know
You're
how to
really allowed-
stream
We're
it
here
to
to get
Facebook
testimony
too.
that's
I don't know how to
truthful
do that
and
yet.
honest and complete.
I'm
Let
not
me ask you
tech
this.
savvy
Joe Biden
yet.
last year said that Xi Jinping was a dictator. Do you agree with Joe Biden? Is Xi Jinping a dictator?
Senator, I'm not going to comment on any world leaders.
Why won't you answer these very simple questions?
Senator, it's not appropriate
Are
for
you
me as a
scared?
businessman to comment on world leaders.
Are you scared that you'll lose your job if you say anything negative about the Chinese Communist Party?
I disagree that. You will
Are you
find
scared
content
you'll
that
be
is critical of
arrested and
China on our
disappear the
platform.
next time you go on? Are you scared that you'll be arrested and disappear the next time you go to mainland China?
Senator, you will find content that's critical of China and any
All right.
other country freely on TikTok.
Okay. Let's turn to what TikTok, a tool of the Chinese Communist Party, is doing to America's youth. Does the name Mason Edens ring a bell?
Senator, you may have to give me more specifics if you don't mind.
Yeah, he was a 16-year-old Arkansan. After a breakup in 2022, he went on your platform and searched for things like inspirational quotes and positive affirmations. Instead, he was served up numerous videos glamorizing suicide until he
Yes,
killed
they
himself
did do this.
by
He's
gun.
telling the truth.
What about the name Chase Nazca?
That's what happened with my
ring a bell?
grandson.
Would you mind giving me more details, please?
He was a 16-year-old who saw more than 1,000 videos on your platform about violence and suicide until he took his own life by stepping in front of a plane or train. Are you aware that his parents, Dean and Michelle, are suing TikTok and ByteDance for pushing their son to take his own life?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay. Finally, Mr. Chu, has the Federal Trade Commission sued TikTok during the Biden administration?
Senator, I cannot talk about whether there's any
Are you
ongoing.
currently being sued by the Federal Trade Commission?
Senator, I cannot talk about any potential lawsuits,
I didn't
whether
say
they happen or
potential,
not.
actual. Are you being sued by the Federal Trade Commission?
It's shared on Facebook
Senator, I
now,
think I've
guys.
given you my answer. I cannot
Answer
talk
I
is
don't
about
know how to
no.
go live from
Ms.
there,
Yacarino's
like
company
Dolly
is being sued,
does.
I believe. Mr. Zuckerberg's company is being sued, I believe. Yet TikTok, the agent of the Chinese Communist Party, is not being sued by the Biden administration. Are you familiar with the name Christina Kafara?
You may have to give me more details.
Christina
Senator.
Kafara was a paid advisor to ByteDance, your communist-influenced parent company. She was then hired by the Biden FTC to advise on how to sue Mr. Zuckerberg's
You're welcome.
company.
Yes,
Senator,
please,
ByteDance
go
is a global
ahead.
company and not a Chinese
Yes,
Communist
please.
company.
Public reports
It's owned by global
indicate-
investors.
Public reports
Yes.
indicate that your
Hey,
lobbyists
Mac
visited the
B.
White House more than 40
Good to
times
see ya.
in 2022. How many times did your company's lobbyists visit the White House last year?
I don't know that, Senator.
Are you aware that the Biden campaign and the Democratic National Committee is on your platform? They have TikTok accounts?
Senator, we encourage people to come on
Which,
to
by
create
the way,
organic, authentic content.
they won't let their staffers use their personal phones. They give them separate phones that they only use TikTok on.
We encourage everyone to join,
So
including
let-
yourself.
Hey,
Senator.
Debbie,
So
good to
all
see you
these companies
again.
are being sued by the FTC. You're not. The FTC has a former paid advisor, your parent,
Yes.
talking about how they can sue Mr. Zuckerberg's company. Joe Biden's reelection campaign, the Democratic National Committee is on your platform. Let me ask you, have you or anyone else at TikTok communicated with or coordinated with the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, or the Democratic National Committee to influence the flow of information on your platform?
We work with any creators who want to use our campaign. It's all the same process that
Okay,
we have.
so what we have here, we have a company that's a tool of the Chinese Communist Party that is poisoning the minds of America's children, in some cases driving them to suicide.
Amen.
And that at best, the Biden administration is taking a pass on, at worst maybe in collaboration with. Thank you, Mr. Chu.
Thank you, Senator Cotton. So we're going to take a break now. We're on the second roll call. Members can take advantage of it if they wish. The break will last about 10 minutes. Please do your best to return.
Okay, so I'm going to put it on pause, and we will talk about it if you want.
Are you trying to go through the video? Got it, okay. I think these guys are also coming this way, just FYI. Excuse us, sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to mute it until they come back in from their 10-minute break. Y'all give me your feedback. What did you think? You think the guy's full of shat or what? Singaporean. Look, dude, you are the CEO of TikTok. Give me a fucking break that you're not being influenced by the Chinese government, right? Stay positive and focused. There will be a new internet quantum. Everything will be done true. I feel like crying reading this. And you won't have any more garbage. The Illuminati cabal stopping our freedom of speech. It didn't work out for them real well, did it? Because we're hardcore USA, right? And we're way too controlling to be controlled, right? It is definitely mental, physiological, sociological. It's all warfare, guys. They couldn't beat us on the ground in the jungle, so they're beating us this way biochemically, like I've discussed with how they're now processing our food, vaccinations. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Vaccinations. Come on, you know what I mean? I wonder if they'll take this down. We'll see. We'll see if they take me down, right? God bless America, home of the free, right? I do admit I have to agree with you on this subject. Yeah, they know. They know. They know what they're doing to us. The mark of the beast is the little square we're all staring at. It is, isn't it, Night Owl? When they brought TVs into our homes when we were little kids, it took us off working the farm, didn't it? And made us lazy. We quit working the farm. We quit working jobs. Now we want to lay around, eat food, and watch TV. Where all food is manufactured. Yep. Yep. And I can tell you what's happened just in the county that I just moved out of, Yadkin County, North Carolina. I can tell you what's happening there. I see it with my own eyes. So no motherfucking troll here is going to tell me I didn't see what I saw. You know what I mean? Yep. It's so true. This is history in the making right here. Being grilled. Who knows what's going to come of this? Let's hope it's something positive. Everyday young down the street is being recruited to go into sleep for sale and not for our government. Yeah, I've read about that. Y'all give me your feedback on how you view social media and how it has made a negative impact on our lives as American citizens, and it brought the enemy on our soil. hmm They couldn't beat us out there in the Congo or whatever you want to call it. What do they call it, honey? The jungle? And I want y'all to know something. I knew people that fought in that war, okay? And they were given black tar heroin and meth to stay up and beat the enemy, right? Oh, I know that. But I think today was pretty earth shattering with some of the things that they were having to answer to. They were asking if they would be on board with the Child Safety Act, Social Media Child Safety Act. And I think 2 said yes and the rest were a no. I'm watching one of the convoys. This is going to Texas. I encourage all of you to join these group. Do you have the link there, Debbie? And I will mod you. I will mod you so you can drop that link because I have been trying to find a good one for that. Okay, I hope that helps y'all drop your links there. The whole reset when we were all in our homes when the plague hit, they got me to where I like being home. I used to be, that's what the whole point of that was. Because if we are socializing, then what will we do? Revolt. Okay. If they break us up and we can't talk to one another, we can't form a coalition, can we? Well, can you drop it, Debbie, and I can unmod you after you do that? Okay, thanks. If you don't want to be a mod, that's no problem. You're welcome. I appreciate you. Just makes it easier for me if I give you a jacket. Just to let you know, our birth certificates are worth 1 million plus interest. I will come back, Gypsy. Thank you for having me. Biden is not the president. I've always thought that. Yeah, he's a shadow president. Yeah, I feel you on that. What links will we drop? Okay, you can drop your own link, and then Debbie has a link if you're wanting after this live. She is also following the convoy of truckers are on their way to block the borders for us. Do you know about that? There's a convoy of, yeah, here we go, right here. When do you think the new internet quantum and all the truth comes out? I'm anxiously awaiting it, Barbara says. Stiggy, can you answer that before you leave? This is the link to the convoy that is headed toward Texas to block the border. Debbie just posted it. If you're interested, that's live also now while we're waiting. Don't make me leave because I'm not for insurrection crap. Oh, I'm just stating what happened. I subbed up to Debbie. I'm not going to be a lay down buttercup. I can tell you that. If they try to take over my, that's what our forefathers did. That's what they would expect us to do. We can't be lay downs. You're welcome, Barbara. But I don't want my trucks in that protest. I'm wondering if they think that if they cut our supply, which truckers doing a convoy is going to do, it's going to hurt our supply. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. Your trucks are running east. Lay down for them to take over. Did you just sit through this same live with us? Have you had anyone in your home that went through any kind of, what did you just watch this live? These people are out of the convoy that went to DC last year. Okay, thanks. Yeah, see, my trucks are running east, not west. Gotcha. Okay, can somebody help me explain this to Buttercup? Because I don't think I'm explaining it well. I'm sort of anxious and I'm not explaining it well. Okay, she's in chat. Can you explain it? No, type. Buttercup, do you have anyone near you that is military? Do you have a brother, sister, neighbor, friend, pastor, mailman that is military? Sorry, Mountain Violet. I'm not sure what time I put. So my truckers will not be participating in this. I got you, because they go west to east. Is that right? Just wait. It's great to listen to. The congressman is amazing. Just remember, guys, you don't have to agree with me to be here. I want you all here. Okay, your husband is a Marine of the year of Jimmy Carter. Okay, where is he and how does he feel about social media's impact on the United States, our freedoms, and our security? Maybe he's your point of contact. If you trust him, that's probably who you should go talk to, because I don't think that you're going to, if you're already defensive about the insurrection, I'm not the person to talk to about it. But I'm so glad that you're here. If you have opposing views, you are more than welcome to be here. Please. Absolutely. Are they really, Mountain Violet? That's awesome. Mountain Violet says, my husband and many of his trucker friends are going to help. That's fantastic. Who is prepped at home in case we have to go? Well, yeah, I've been sharing some videos on how to can meat and prepare for that. It's like the one that what is this doing? My computer has a mind of its own. Yeah, it's not a conspiracy if it's true. I mean, well, it's a conspiracy. It's just not a theory. It's true. The media is lying about this. This is a revival. The more you can share, the better. That's right. I hope everyone feels welcome here. Her husband passed, so he can't explain it to her. You just have to do your own research. That's all. Just do your own research. I'm not going to get into a verbal war with someone that's already thinks that was an insurrection. I'm listening, Gypsy. I have to rest my eyes for a minute. Okay. Thank you for coming. I heard about the violence. I want my drivers safe. Right. Me too. Well, hubby isn't going, but his boss is sending it. That's fantastic. It's not like France, the farmers' protest. Right. The last 3 days. Okay. Listen, I lost many friends and family. They think I'm crazy. Yeah, when they start talking, oh, you're crazy, I have to just, put you over here and you go study it yourself. You just go study it yourself. I'm not going to get into that with people. I'm not going to be gaslit. Not going to happen. More than welcome to be here, but I won't be gaslit. Let's see. As far as the truck convoy, they already did that the last election season. Oh, did they really? It didn't seem to make any difference, but peeps make money. Oh, no. Did it hurt our supply and demand? Did it hurt our supply and demand? Our borders are being overrun by military-aged men from countries thousands of miles away from Mexico. Listen, else, my friend. Yeah, right. The convoy, I put the links up to our 4 big rigs and 58 vehicles. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. Oh, I love Buttercup to death. She's a mod. I want differences of opinions. I'm not going to shut you out just because you don't agree with me. I want you to disagree with me so we can discuss it. I want all the truckers safe for sure. I love that they are also fighting to help our country. Amen. Pain in the ass, getting a new bank card, got to change everything. Yeah, bless your heart. Did that happen to you? We haul produce, so it does affect us personally. Oh, really? Do you? Yeah, you got a new iPhone 13. Wow, how much did that set you back? Y'all go watch Tina Summerly's short about. Okay, that's no problem. I absolutely will. Yeah, because I've said numerous times you're welcome to be here with a difference of opinion. So no problem whatsoever. You're unmodded. Okay, so it's not always the creator that isn't open-minded, right, guys? You have to be open-minded too. Okay. That convoy was a bust. The leaders ran off with the money, and oh wow, and those there just wondered. Lessons learned since. Okay. What do you think could be inside of all those trucks heading toward the border? Do you think the trucks are empty? Debbie, do you know the answer to that? I don't know. That's an interesting question. Just a little longer wait for supplies to come last time. They are anticipating 2-ish weeks for supply to be slow, or stock up on your supplies now if you can. Just a couple weeks worth. Okay. Since Biden opened the border, 800,000 military-aged men have been allowed into the country and released. Trojan horse. It's not all trucks and vehicles. Okay, they're having a party. It looks like it, doesn't it? People in the pickup trucks and minivans. Let's see. 100% Magnum. Dead on. Yep. Everybody agrees with you here, Magnum. Everyone agrees with you. I'm on a plan, $61 a month for 2 years. That's pretty cheap. They're doing rock concerts in parking lots. Who the truckers are? We're having problems getting loads right now. Oh, wow. Really? That's too bad. We will be locked down for a good reason. Everybody will be home and will be seeing everything about what they have done to our country and children. The child trafficking and millions of children have been. That's interesting. Yep, Melissa says we're having problems getting loads right now. I've noticed that too. Even without the convoy months ago, I noticed that too. These vehicles will not be at the border. Media lied about this. It is a revival for America, period. Okay. I got a new commuter too at Christmas time. That plan is for 2 years. 50. Wow, that's cheap. You did good. Why don't America just take over Mexico? I've wondered that too. And make new states. Tell me we wouldn't want to. Maybe they don't want to be acquired. Maybe that's it. Maybe they don't want to become. The lockdown theory is getting old. is always just wait, it's coming on and on, nothing changes. Really? I watched a clip on Bush Jr. He won on the stance of shutting down the open border, so it's not a new thing. Bush did nothing once elected. I'm also anxiously awaiting the lockdown. God says, close yourself inside, anoint your homes, and wait. Wow. SD, I got a tablet and it stresses me out. Bless your heart. Well, they named it Take Our Borders Back Convoy. So it's false advertising. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I'm doing good. I just bought a bigger house, so I'm being clean and I was interested in what I wish Stiggy was still here. Nicolina had been talking, you know, she has a medical background with medical research, and was talking about Monsanto. Is I'm pronouncing it right? Monsanto is like a really bad thing, and I might do a show on that. I probably will. And so it's kind of spot, yeah. My trucks used to stay running. Now I'm parking them until a load becomes available. I bought a tablet for my grandson. Yeah, they're back on. Shit, I didn't mean to do that.
And technology in general. Now, the services our children are growing up with provide them unrivaled access to information. I mean, this is beyond what previous generations have experienced. And that includes learning opportunities, socialization, and much, much more. But we also clearly have a lot of work to do to better protect our children from the predators and predatory behavior that these technologies have enabled. And yes, Mr. Zuckerberg, that includes exacerbating the mental health crisis in America. Nearly all teens we know have access to smartphones and the internet and use the internet daily. And while guardians do have primary responsibility for caring for our children, the old adage says it takes a village. And so society as a whole, including leaders in the tech industry, must prioritize the health and safety of our children. Now, dive into my questions now and be specific, platform by platform, witness by witness, on the topic of some of the parental tools you have each made reference to. Mr. Citron, how many minors are on Discord and how many of them have caretakers that have adopted your Family Center tool? And if you don't have the numbers, just say that quickly and provide that to our office.
We can follow up with you on that.
How have you ensured that young people and their guardians are aware of the tools that you offer?
We make it very clear to teens on our platform what tools are available, and our Teen Safety Assist is enabled by default.
What specifically do you do? What may be clear to you is not clear to the general public. So what do you do, in your opinion, to make it very clear?
So our Teen Safety Assist, which is a feature that helps teens keep themselves safe, in addition to blocking and blurring images that may be sent to them, that is on by default for teen accounts, and it cannot be turned off. We also have, we market and to our teen users directly on our platform. We launched our Family Center. We create a promotional video. We put it directly on our product. So when every teen opened the app, in fact, every user opened the app, they got an alert like, hey, Discord has this, they want you to use it.
Thank you. Look forward to the data that we're requesting from Mr. Zuckerberg. Across all of Meta services, from Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, and Horizon, how many minors use your applications? And of those minors, how many have a caretaker that has adopted the parental supervision tools that you offer?
Sorry, I can follow up with the specific stats on that.
Okay, it would be very helpful, not just for us to know, but for you to know as the leader of your company. And same question, how are you ensuring that young people and their guardians are aware of the tools that you offer?
We run pretty extensive ad campaigns, both on our platforms and outside. We work with creators and organizations like Girl Scouts to make sure that this is that there's broad awareness of the tools.
Okay. Mr. Spiegel, how many minors use Snapchat? And of those minors, how many have caretakers that are registered with your family center?
Senator, I believe approximately, in the United States, there are approximately 20 million teenage users of Snapchat. I believe approximately 200,000 parents use Family Center, and about 400,000 teens have linked their account to their parents using Family Center.
So 200,000, 400,000 sounds like a big number, but small in percentage of the minors using Snapchat. What are you doing to ensure that young people and their guardians are aware of the tools you offer?
Senator, we create a banner for Family Center on the user's profile so that accounts we believe may be of the age that they could be parents can see the entry point into Family Center easily.
Mr. Chu, how many minors are on TikTok, and how many of them have a caregiver that uses your family?
Barbara, do you know how to
Senator, I need to
drop
get back to you on
membership
the specific
links? I'm
numbers.
going to mod
but,
you.
We were one of the first platforms to give what we call family
Since
pairing.
we had
to
a
parents.
Buttercup baby
You go to
quit.
settings, you turn on the QR code, your teenager's QR code, and yours, you scan it.
Some people
And what
aren't
it
ready
allows
to
you
hear
do is You can
this.
set screen time limits. You can filter out some keywords. You can turn on the more restricted mode. And we're always talking to parents. I met a group of parents and teenagers and high school teachers last week to talk about what more we can provide in the family pairing mode.
Ms. Yacarino, how many minors use X, and are you planning to implement safety measures or guidance for caretakers like your peer companies have?
Thank you, Senator. Less than 1% of all U.S. users
Thank you,
are between
Barbara.
the
I
ages
appreciate
of
you.
13 and 17.
Less than 1% of how many?
I can't make everybody
90
happy.
million U.S. users.
Okay, so still hundreds of thousands. Continue.
Yes, yes, and every single one is very important. Being a 14-month-old company, we have reprioritized child protection and safety measures, and we have just begun to talk about and discuss how we can enhance those with parental controls.
Let me continue with a follow-up question for Mr. Citron. In addition to keeping parents informed about the nature of various internet services, there's a lot more we obviously need to do. For today's purposes, while many companies offer a broad range of quote-unquote user
Thank you, Debbie.
empowerment tools, it's helpful to understand whether young people even find these tools helpful. So appreciate you sharing your Teen Safety Assist and the tools and how you're advertising it, but have you conducted any assessments of how these features are impacting minors' use of your
Hey,
platform?
Jen.
Our intention is to give teens tools, capabilities that they can use to keep themselves safe, and also so our teams can help keep teens safe. We recently launched Teen Safety Assist last year, and I do not have a study
Oh,
off the top
thank you,
of my head. but
Crazy
we'd be
Chicken
happy to
Lady.
follow up
Thank
with you on that.
you.
My time is
I'm
up. I'll have follow-up
open-minded, but I
questions
won't
for each of
tolerate
you.
being
The
called a
second
secret. I
round,
don't think that
I'll do
he
statements for the record
called you
on,
a secret
some
communist.
assessment of the tools.
Did you
that's,
call someone a
being
secret
proposed.
communist?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. Senator Kennedy.
Are you in here? Is
Thank you
Dad
all
here?
for being here. Mr.
I don't think that's what he meant.
Spiegel, I see you hiding down there. What does yada, yada, yada mean?
I'm not familiar with
Can
the
y'all
terms.
remove Buttercup's
Very.
disrespectful comment there, please?
Can we agree that what you do, not what you
Bye-bye.
say, what you do is what you believe and everything else is just cottage cheese?
Yes, Senator.
You agree with that?
I mean, this isn't
Speak
new.
up.
This
Don't be
isn't
shy.
new stuff. You said that yourself.
I've listened to you today. I've heard a lot of yada, yada, yadaing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard you talk about the reforms you've made, and I appreciate them. And I've heard you talk about the reforms you're going to make. But I don't think you're going to solve the problem. I think Congress is going to have to help you.
I'm pretty
think the
sure
reforms
everyone
you're talking
agrees
about
with
to some
me
extent are
that
going to be like
if you
putting-
have anyone military in
putting
your
paint
home,
on rotten wood.
they're real fed up and
And I'm
frustrated
not sure
with
you're
the
going to support this legislation.
fake Americans, right?
The fact is that you
And they just don't
some
have
of your
any,
internet colleagues
room
who
for
are
yada,
not-
yada, yada.
are no longer, you're not companies, you're countries. You're very, very powerful. And you and some of your colleagues who are not here have blocked everything we have tried to do in terms of reasonable regulation. Everything from privacy to child exploitation. And in fact, we have a new definition of recession. A recession is when, we know we're in a recession when Google has to lay off 25 members of Congress. That's what we're down to. We're also down to this fact, that your platforms.
Yeah,
are
my
hurting
husband
children.
just doesn't have the tolerance
saying they're
for
not
that,
doing some
Mountain
good
Violet. I'm
things, but
still
they're hurting
dumbfounded. People aren't more awake,
And
to
I know
be
how to
honest.
count votes.
Absolutely.
If
He
this
just doesn't
bill
have
comes to
tolerance
the
for
floor of
that.
the United States
He's
Senate,
not
it
going to
will pass.
fluff. That's why I don't have
What we're
him on
going to
my
have to
lives.
do, and I say this with all the respect I
God
can
bless
muster,
America,
is
is all I got to
convince
say.
my good friend Senator Schumer to go to Amazon, buy a spy.
She doesn't agree
online,
with
and
any
bring
of
this
us.
bill to the Senate floor. And the House will then pass it. Now, that's one person's opinion. I may be wrong, but I doubt it. Mr. Zuckerberg, let me ask you a couple.
He
of
was
questions.
asked.
Let's- Might wax a little philosophical here.
My husband
Um,
doesn't either, but he was asked.
I have to hand it to you. You have convinced over 2 billion people to give up all of their personal information, every bit of it, in exchange for getting to see what their high school friends had for dinner Saturday night. That's pretty much your business model, isn't it?
It's not how I would characterize it. And we give people the ability to connect with the people they care about and to engage with the topics that they care about.
And you take this information, this abundance of personal information, and then you develop algorithms to punch people's hot buttons.
Thank you, Debbie, because you know I'm going to
and
get
send-
attacked
and
for it.
steer
Thank
to
you,
them
Debbie.
information
He is a good
that
man.
punches their hot
6
buttons
years
again
in service.
and
He's a
again
good
and
man.
again to keep
And
them
is now
coming back
on
and to keep
disability
them
for
staying
serving.
longer. And as a result, your users see only one side of an issue. And so, to some extent, your platform has become a killing field for the truth, hasn't it?
I mean, Senator, I disagree with that characterization. We build ranking and recommendations because people have a lot of friends and a lot of interests, and they want to make sure that they see the content that's relevant to them. We're trying to make a product
you,
that's
Mimi.
useful to people and make our services as helpful as possible for people to connect with the people they care about and the interests they care about.
But you don't
Thank you,
show them
Barbara.
both sides. You don't
I
give them
don't know why
balanced
she left.
information. You just keep punching their hot buttons.
I mean, someone
punching
that's
their
in the
hot
military
buttons.
that is
You don't show
disabled from the
them
military
balanced
isn't going to sit
information
there and
so
let
people can
someone
discern the truth for
them.
themselves.
It's not.
And you rev them up so much that so often your platform and others becomes just cesspools of snark
Thank you, Melissa.
where nobody learns anything, don't they?
Well, Senator, I disagree with that. I think people can engage in the things that they're interested in and learn quite a bit about those. We have done a handful of different experiments and things in the past around news and trying to show content on a diverse set of perspectives.
I love
think
you
there's
too,
more
Stinky.
that needs to be explored there, but I don't think that we can solve that by ourselves. One of the things that
Do
I
you
saw.
think, I'm sorry to cut you off, Mr. President, but I'm going to run out of time. Do you think your users really understand
Not you at all,
what they're
SDA.
giving to you, all their personal information?
I was
and
answering
how
your
How you
question.
process it and how you monetize it?
When you said what
Do you
happened, I
think
said I
people
can't
really
make everybody
understand?
happy.
Senator, I think people understand the basic terms. I mean, I think that there's.
Let
that-
me put it
I actually
in-
think that a lot of
let
people
me put it
overestimate
another
how
way.
much
It's
information
been a
there is that
couple of
we
years
have.
since we talked about this. Does your user agreement still suck?
I'm
Can-
not
can
sure
you
how to
s-
answer that, Senator.
Can
I
you
think
still
the
hide,
basic-
can you still hide a dead body and all that legalese where nobody can find it?
Senator, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, but I think people get the basic deal of using these services. It's a free service. You're using it to connect with the people you care about, if you share something with people, other people will be able to see your information. It's inherently, if you're putting something out there to be shared publicly, or with a private set of people, it's, you're inherently putting it out there. So I think people get that basic part of how the
But
service
Mr.
works.
Zuckerberg, you're in the foothills of creepy. You track people who aren't even Facebook users. You track your own people, your own users who are your product, even when they're not on Facebook. I'm going to land this plane pretty quickly, Mr. Chairman. I mean, it's creepy. And I understand you make a lot of money doing it, but I just wonder if our technology is greater than our humanity. I mean, let me ask you this final question. Instagram is harmful to young people, isn't it?
Senator, I disagree with that. That's not what the research shows on balance. That doesn't mean that individual people don't have issues and that there aren't things that we need to do to help provide the right tools for people. But across all of the research that we've done internally, I mean, the survey that the senator previously cited, there are 12 or 15 different categories of harm that we asked teens if they felt that Instagram made it worse or better. And across all of them, except for the one that Senator Hawley cited, more people said that using Instagram
I've
made
got
the
to
different
land
issues
this
that they
plane,
face,
Mr. Zuckerberg.
either positive or.
We just have to agree to disagree. If you believe that Instagram, I'm not saying it's intentional, but if you agree that if you think that Instagram is not hurting millions of our young people, particularly young teens, particularly young women, you shouldn't be driving. It is. Thanks.
Senator Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our panelists who've come to have an important conversation with us. Most importantly, I want to appreciate the families who have shown up to continue to be remarkable champions of your children and your loved ones, for being here, and in particular to California families that I was able to just talk to on the break, the families of Sammy Chapman from Los Angeles and Daniel Puerta from Santa Clarita. They are here today and are doing some incredible work to not just protect the memory and legacy of their boys, but the work that they're doing is going to protect my 9-year-old. And that is indeed why we're here. There are a couple questions that I want to ask some individuals. Let me start with a question for each of you. Mr. Citron, have you ever sat with a family and talked about their experience and what they need from your product? Yes or no?
Yes, I have spoken with parents about how we can build tools to help them.
Mr. Spiegel, have you sat with families and young people to talk about your products and what they need from your product?
Yes, Senator.
Mr. Hsu?
Yes, I just did it 2 weeks ago, for example.
I don't want to know what you did for the hearing prep, Mr. Hsu. I just wanted to know if
it's
you
an example.
did anything
Senator,
in
it's an
terms
example.
of designing the product that you are creating. Mr. Zuckerberg, have you sat with parents and young people to talk about how you design product for your consumers?
Yes, over the years, I've had a lot of conversations with parents.
You know, that's interesting, Mr. Zuckerberg, because we talked about this last night and you gave me a very different answer. I asked you this very question.
Well, I told you that I didn't know what specific processes our company had.
No, Mr.
for
Zuckerberg,
answering.
you said to me that you had not.
I must have misspoke.
I want to give you the room to misspeak, Mr. Zuckerberg, but I asked you this very question. I asked all of you this question, and you told me a very different answer when we spoke, but I won't belabor it. Can I, a number of you have talked about Ms. Yaccarino, have you talked to parents directly, young people, about designing your product?
As a new leader of X, the answer is yes. I've spoken to them about the behavioral patterns because less than 1% of our users are in that age group, but yes,
You
I
have-
have spoken to them.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Spiegel, there are a number of parents whose children have been able to access illegal drugs on your platform. What do you say to those parents?
Senator, we are devastated that we cannot.
To the
prevent-
parents, what do you say to those parents, Mr. Spiegel?
I'm so sorry that we have not been able to prevent these tragedies. We work very hard to block all search terms related to drugs from our platform. We proactively look for and detect drug-related content. We remove it from our platform, preserve it as evidence, and then we refer it to law enforcement for action. We've worked together with nonprofits and with families on education campaigns because the scale of the fentanyl epidemic is extraordinary. Over 100,000 people lost their lives last year, and we believe people need to know that one pill can kill. That campaign reached was viewed more than 260 million times on Snapchat. We also
Mr.
launched.
Spiegel, there are two fathers in this room who lost their sons. They're 16 years old. Their children were able to get those pills from Snapchat. I know that there are statistics and I know that there are good efforts. None of those efforts are keeping our kids from getting access to those drugs on your platform. As a California company, all of you, I've talked with you about what it means to be a good neighbor and what California families and American families should be expecting from you. You owe them more than just a set of statistics. And I look forward to you showing up on all pieces of this legislation, all of you, showing up on all pieces of legislation to keep our children safe. Mr. Zuckerberg, I want to come back to you. I talked with you about being a parent to a young child who doesn't have a phone, is not on social media at all. And one of the things that I am deeply concerned with as a parent to a young Black girl is the utilization of filters on your platform that would suggest to young girls utilizing your platform the evidence that they are not good enough as they are. I want to ask more specifically and refer to some unredacted court documents that reveal that your own researchers concluded that these face filters that mimic plastic surgery negatively impact youth mental health indeed and well-being. Why should we believe that because that you are going to do more to protect young women and young girls when it is that you give them the tools to affirm the self-hate that is spewed across your platforms? Why is it that we should believe that you are committed to doing anything more to keep our children safe?
Sorry, there's a lot to unpack there.
There
We
is
give
a lot.
people tools to express themselves in different ways. And people use face filters and different tools to make media and photos and videos that are fun or interesting across a lot of the different products that are.
Plastic surgery pens are good tools to express creativity.
Senator, I'm not speaking to that
Skin lightening
specifically.
tools are tools to
Senator,
express creativity. This
I'm
is
not
the direct thing
defending-
that I'm asking
Yeah, I'm not
about.
defending any specific one of those. I think that the ability to kind of filter and edit images is generally a useful tool for expression. For that specifically, I'm not familiar with the study that you're referring to, but we did make it so that we're not recommending this type of content to teens.
I made
on
no
our
reference to a study, to court documents that revealed your knowledge of the impact of these types of filters on young people generally, young
Okay,
girls in
Kim,
particular.
and hey,
I
Rosie,
disagree with
thanks
that
for coming.
characterization. I think that there have
With
been
court
hypotheses.
documents?
I haven't seen any document.
Oh,
that says
okay,
that, but-
Mr. Zuckerberg, my time is up. I hope that you hear what is being offered to you and are prepared to step up and do better. I know this Senate committee is going to do our work to hold you to greater account. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Tillis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for being here. I don't feel like I'm going to have an opportunity to ask a lot of questions, so I'm going to reserve the right to submit some for the record. But I have heard, we've had hearings like this before. I've been in the Senate for 9 years. I've heard hearings like this before. I've heard horrible stories about people who have died, committed suicide, been embarrassed.
I went
Every
back and
year,
read the
we
comment
have an
that my
annual
husband
flogging
left, and
every
he was
year.
being facetious and
materially has
vague, and no
occurred over
person
the
was
last
called
9
out by
years?
name. So if you took that to fit
Do
you,
any of you all?
that's on you. He was
just
being
yes or no
funny.
question. Do any of y'all participate in an industry consortium trying to make this fundamentally safe across platforms? Yes or no, Mr.
Yes.
Zuckerberg?
There's a variety of organizations that we
participate in
work. Which
Does-
organizations?
I should say, does anyone here not participate in an industry? If, I actually think it would be immoral for you all to consider it a strategic advantage to keep safe, or to keep private, something that would secure all these platforms, to avoid this sort of problem. Do you all agree with that? That anybody that would be saying, you want ours because ours is the safest and these haven't figured out the secret sauce, that you as an industry realize this is an existential threat to you all if we don't get it right, right? I mean, you've got to secure your platforms. You got to deal with this. Do you not have an inherent mandate to do this? Because it would seem to me if you don't, you're going to cease to exist. I mean, we could regulate you out of business if we wanted to. And the reason I'm saying it may sound like a criticism. It's not a criticism. I think we have to understand that there should be an inherent motivation for you to get this right. Or Congress will make a decision that could potentially put you out of business. Here's the reason I have a concern with that, though. I just went on the internet while I was listening intently to all the other members speaking, and I found a dozen different platforms outside the United States, 10 of which are in China, 2 of which are in Russia. Their daily average subscriber or active membership numbers in the billions. Well, people say you can't get on China's version of TikTok. It took me one quick search on my favorite search engine to find out exactly how I could get an account on this platform today. And so the other thing that we have to keep in mind, I come from technology. I could figure out, ladies and gentlemen, I could figure out how to influence your kid without them ever being on a social media platform. I can randomly send text and get a bite and then find out an email address and get compromising information. It is horrible to hear some of these stories, and I have shared and I've had these stories occur in my hometown down in North Carolina. But if we only come here and make a point today and don't start focusing on making a difference, which requires people to stop shouting and start listening and start passing language here, the bad actors are just going to be off our shores. I have another question for you all. How many people roughly, if you don't know the exact numbers, okay, roughly how many people do you have looking 24 hours a day at these horrible images? And just go real quick with an answer down the line and filtering it out.
It's most of the 40,000 about people who work on safety.
And again?
We have 2,300 people all over the world.
Okay.
We have 40,000 trust and safety professionals around the world.
We have approximately 2,000 people dedicated to trust and safety and content moderation.
Our platform is much smaller than these folks. We have hundreds of people, and it's looking at content, and 15% of our workforce.
I'm only
focused
mentioning,
on
these
it.
people have a horrible job. Many of them experience, they have to get counseling for all the things they see. We have evil people out there. And we're not going to fix this by shouting past or talking past each other. We're going to fix this by every one of y'all being at the table and hopefully coming closer to what I heard one person say, supporting a lot of the good bills, like one that I hope Senator Blackburn mentions when she gets a chance to talk. But guys, if you're not at the table and securing these platforms, you're going to be on it. And the reason why I'm not okay with that is that if we ultimately destroy your ability to create value and drive you out of business, the evil people will find another way to get to these children. And I do have to admit, I don't think my mom's watching this one, but there is good. We can't look past good that is occurring. My mom, who lives in Nashville, Tennessee, and I talked yesterday, and we talked about a Facebook post that she made a couple of days ago. We don't let her talk to anybody else. That connects my 92-year-old mother with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. That lets a kid who may feel awkward in school to get into a group of people and relate to people. Let's not throw out the good because we haven't all together focused on rooting out the bad. Now, I guarantee you, I could go through some of your governance documents and find a reason to flog every single one of you because you didn't place the emphasis on it that I think you should. But at the end of the day, I find it hard to believe that any of you people started this business, some of you in your college dorm rooms, for the purposes of creating the evil that is being perpetrated on your platforms. But I hope that every single waking hour, you're doing everything you can to reduce it. You're not going to be able
I
to
was
eliminate it.
taking the
And I
cover
hope
off
that
my
there are some
phone and I hit
enterprising young tech
Night
people
Owl.
out
Can
there
somebody
today
help me?
that are going to go to parents
I was
and
trying
say,
to take
"Ladies
the
and
cover
gentlemen,
off
your
my phone so I
children
could take a picture
have
of my
a
pizza."
deadly weapon. They have a potentially deadly weapon, whether it's a phone
Can somebody help
or
me
a
get her back?
tablet. You have to secure it.
It
You
says,
can't assume that they're going to be honest and say that they're 16 when they're
unhide?
12. We all have to recognize that we have a responsibility to play, and you guys are at the tip of
she
the
back?
spear. So I hope that we can get to a point to where we are moving these bills. If you got a problem with them,
don't know how to
state your
untie
problem, let's
somebody
fix
out.
it. No is not an answer. And know that I want the United States
how to
to be the
undo it.
beacon for innovation, to be the beacon for safety, and to prevent people from using other options that have existed since the internet has existed to exploit
did.
people. And count me in as somebody that will try
I
and
did
help out.
unhide her.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
good.
Thank you, Senator Tillis. Next is
Okay,
Senator
good.
Ossoff.
Are you in here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and
Night Owl?
thank you to our witnesses today.
It says you unhidden her. Okay.
Mr. Zuckerberg, I want to
Sorry.
begin by just asking a simple question,
I
which is,
think
do you
I,
want kids to use your
Did
platform
I give you
more
your
or
jacket
less?
back? Okay,
We
good.
don't want people under the age of 13 using.
The
Do you want
stupid cover on my
teenagers
phone.
13
I'm
and up to
sorry.
use
I
your
wanted to take a
platform
picture of
more
my
or
pizza.
less?
I'm sorry.
We would like to build a
Okay,
product that
good.
is useful
I'll
and
shut
that
up
people
now.
want to use more.
My time is going to be limited, so it's just, do you want them to use it more or less? Teenagers, 13 to 17 years old, do you want them using Meta products more or less?
I'd like them to be useful enough that they want to use them more.
You want them to use it more. I think herein we have one of the fundamental challenges. In fact, you have a fiduciary obligation, do you not, to try to get kids to use your platform more?
It depends on how you define that. We obviously are a business, but
I'm sorry, Mr. Zuckerberg, it's just, our time is, it's self-evident that you have a fiduciary obligation to get your users, including users under 18, to use and engage with your platform more rather than less, correct?
over the long term, but in the near term, we often take a lot of steps, including we made a change to show less videos that on the platform that reduced amount of time by more than 50 million
Okay,
hours.
but if your shareholders ask you, Mark, I wouldn't, Mr. Zuckerberg here, but your shareholders might be on a first-name basis with you. Mark, are you trying to get kids to use Meta products more or less? You'd say more, right?
Well, I would say that over the long term, we're trying to create the most
I mean,
value
let's
as
look,
possible.
so the 10K you file with the SEC, a few things I want to note. Here are some quotes, and this is a filing that you signed, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Our financial performance has been and will continue to be significantly determined by our success in adding, retaining, and engaging active users. Here's another quote. If our users decrease their level of engagement with our products, our revenue, financial results, and business may be significantly harmed. Here's another quote. We believe that some users, particularly younger users, are aware of and actively engaging with other products and services similar to or as a substitute for ours. It continues, in the event that users increasingly engage with other products and services, we may experience a decline in use and engagement in key demographics or more broadly, in which case our business would likely be harmed. You have an obligation as the chief executive to encourage your team to get kids to use your platform more.
Senator,
Fundamental,
I think this is,
is that not self-evident? You have
Well,
a
Senator,
fiduciary
I think it's
obligation to your
not-
shareholders to get kids to use your platform more.
I think that the thing that's not intuitive is the the direction is to make the products more useful, so that way people want to use them more. We don't give the teams running the Instagram feed or the Facebook feed a goal to increase the amount of time that people spend.
Yeah, but
We
you
give
don't
people
dispute,
goals.
and your 10K makes clear, you want your users engaging more and using more the platform. And I think this gets to the root of the challenge, because it's the overwhelming view of the public. We've had some discussions about the underlying science that this platform is harmful for children. I mean, you are familiar with, and not just your platform, by the way, social media in general. 2023 report from the Surgeon General about the impact of
thinks
social
he
media on
acts
kids'
like
mental health,
Spock?
which cited evidence that kids who spend more than
Does
3
not
hours a
come
day on
to-
social media have double the risk of poor mental health outcomes, including depression and anxiety. You familiar with that Surgeon General report and the underlying study?
I read the report, yes.
Do you dispute it?
No, but I think it's important to characterize it correctly. I think what he was flagging in the report is that there seems to be a correlation, and obviously the mental health issue is very important, so it's something that needs to be
Yeah,
studied
we know.
further.
The thing is, that's, everyone knows there's a correlation. Everyone knows that kids who spend a lot of time, too much time on your platforms are at risk. And it's not just the mental health issues. I mean, let me ask you a question. Is your platform safe for kids?
I believe it is, but there's an
Hold on a
important
second.
difference between
Let me
correlation and causation.
Because we're not going to be able to get anywhere. We want to work in a productive, open, honest, and collaborative way with the private sector to pass legislation that will protect Americans, that will protect American children above all, and that will allow businesses to thrive in this country. If we don't start with an open, honest, candid, realistic assessment of the issues, we can't do that. The first point is you want kids to use the platform more. In fact, you have an obligation to. But if you're not willing to acknowledge that it's a dangerous place for children, the internet is a dangerous place for children, not just your platform, isn't it? Isn't the internet a dangerous place for children?
I think it can be. Yeah, there's both great things that people can do, and there are harms that we need to work to
Yeah,
mitigate.
it's a dangerous place for children. There are families here who have lost their children. There are families across the country whose children have engaged in self-harm, who have experienced low self-esteem, who have been sold deadly pills on the internet. The internet's a dangerous place for children, and your platforms are dangerous places for children. Do you agree?
I think that there are harms that we need to
Just-
work to mitigate.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna, I think overall.
Why not?
there-
Why not? Why not just acknowledge it? Why do we have to do the very
Well,
careful
I
code?
disagree with the characterization
Which character,
that you have.
that the internet's a dangerous place for children?
I think you're trying to characterize our products as inherently dangerous, and I think that.
Inherent
first
or
of-
not, your products are places where children can experience harm. They can experience harm to their mental health. They can be sold drugs. They can be preyed upon by predators. They're dangerous places. And yet, you have an obligation to promote the use of these platforms by children. And look, all I'm trying to suggest to you, Mr. Zuckerberg, and my time is running short, is that in order for you to succeed, you and your colleagues here, we have to acknowledge these basic truths. We have to be able to come before the American people, the American public, the people in my state of Georgia, and acknowledge the internet is dangerous, including your platforms. There are predators lurking. There are drugs being sold. There are harms to mental health that are taking a huge toll on kids' quality of life. And yet, you have this incentive, not just you, Mr. Zuckerberg, all of you have an incentive to boost, maximize use, utilization, and engagement. And that is where public policy has to step in to make sure that these platforms are safe for kids. So kids are not dying, so kids are not overdosing, so kids are not cutting themselves or killing themselves because they're spending all day scrolling instead of playing outside. And I appreciate all of you for your testimony. We will continue to engage as we develop this legislation. Thank you.
Senator from Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to each of you for coming. And I know some of you had to be subpoenaed to get here, but we do appreciate that you all are here. Mr. Chu, I want to come to you first. We've heard that you're looking at putting a headquarters in Nashville and likewise in Silicon Valley and Seattle. And what you're going to find probably is that the welcome mat is not going to be rolled out for you in Nashville like it would be in California. There are a lot of people in Tennessee that are very concerned about the way TikTok is basically building dossiers on our kids, the way they are building those on their virtual you. And also that that information is held in China, in Beijing, as you responded to Senator Blumenthal and I last year in reference to that question. And we also know that a major music label yesterday said they were pulling all of their content off your site because of your issues on payment, on artificial intelligence, and because of the negative impact on our kids' mental health. So we will see how that progresses. Mr. Zuckerberg, I want to come to you. We have just had, Senator Blumenthal and I, of course, have had some internal documents and emails that have come our way. One of the things that really concerned me is that you referred to your young users in terms of their lifetime value of it being roughly $270 per teenager. And each of you should be looking at these kids. Their T-shirts they're wearing today say, I'm worth more than $270. We've got some standing up in those T-shirts. Now, and some of the children from our state, some of the children, the parents that we have worked with, just to think whether it is Becca Schmidt, David Mollick, Sarah Flatt, Annalie Schote, would you say that life is only worth $270? What could possibly lead you? I mean, I listened to that. I know you're a dad. I'm a mom. I'm a grandmom. And how could you possibly even have that thought? It is astounding to me. And I think this is one of the reasons that states, 42 states are now suing you because of features that they consider to be addictive, that you are pushing forward. And in the emails that we've got from 2021 that go from August to November, there is the staff plan that is being discussed. And Antigone Davis, Nick Clegg, Sheryl Sandberg, Chris Cox, Alex Schultz, Adam Masseri are all on this chain of emails on the well-being plan. And then we get to one, Nick did email Mark for emphasis, to emphasize his support for the package, but it sounds like it lost out to various other pressures and priorities. See, this is what bothers us. Children are not your priority. Children are your product. Children you see as a way to make money. And children, protecting children in this virtual space, you made a conscious decision. Even though Nick Clegg and others were going through the process of saying, this is what we do. These documents are really illuminating. And it just shows me that growing this business, expanding your revenue, what you were going to put on those quarterly filings, that was the priority. The children were not. It's very clear. I want to talk with you about the pedophile ring because that came up earlier and the Wall Street Journal reported on that.
Trigger warning.
And one of the things that we found out was after that became evident, then you didn't take that content down. And it was content that showed that teens were for sale and were offering themselves to older men. And you didn't take it down because it didn't violate your community standards. Do you know how often a child is bought or sold for sex in this country? Every 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes, a child is bought or sold for sex. That's not my stat. That is a TBI stat. Now, finally, this content was taken down after a congressional staffer went to Meta's global head of safety. So would you please explain to me and to all these parents why explicit predatory content does not violate your platform's terms of service or your community standards?
Sure, Senator. Let me try to address all of the things that you just said. It does violate our standards. We work very hard to take it down.
Didn't take it down.
We've reported, I think it's more than 26 million examples of this kind of content.
Didn't
and
take it
people to
down
NCMEC.
until a congressional staffer brought it up.
It may be that in this case, we made a mistake and missed something.
I
but
think
we
you
have-
make a lot of
But
mistakes, so let's
we have
move
leading
on.
teams that
I want to
identify more
talk
than.
with you about your Instagram Creators Program and about the push. We found out through these documents that you actually are pushing forward because you want to bring kids in early. You see these younger teenagers as valuable but an untapped audience, quoting from the emails, and suggesting teens are actually household influencers to bring their younger siblings into your platform, into Instagram. Now, how can you ensure that Instagram creators, your product, your program, does not facilitate illegal activities when you fail to remove content pertaining to the sale of minors? And it is happening once every 2 minutes in this country.
Senator, our tools for identifying that kind of content are industry leading. That doesn't mean we're perfect. There are definitely issues that we have, but we continue to
Mr.
invest a ton in
Zuckerberg,
it. I think-
yes, there are a lot that is slipping through. It appears that you're trying to be the premier sex trafficking
Of course
site
not, Senator.
in this country.
Senator, that's ridiculous.
No,
S-
it
Senator,
is not ridiculous.
Of
You
course
want
we
to
don't
turn
want
around
this-
and
we
tell
don't want
these
this
people
content on
that,
our platforms, and we
why don't you take it down?
We do take it
We
down.
are here discussing,
We
we
do more
need
work to
you
take it
all
down
to
than-
work
than-
with
than-
us. No, you're not. You are not.
Wow.
And the problem is, we've been working on this, Senator Welch is over there, we've been working on this stuff for a decade. You have an army of lawyers and lobbyists that have fought us on this every step of the way. You work with NetChoice, the Cato Institute, Taxpayers Protection Alliance, and Chamber of Progress to actually fight our bipartisan legislation to keep kids safe online. So are you going to stop funding these groups? Are you going to stop lobbying against this and come to the table and work with us? Yes or no?
Senator, we have a.
Yes or no?
Can one of my mods
we'll work with
clip
you on
that
the
where she
Okay,
accused
the
him of being the
door is
ringleader
open.
of
We've got
child
all these
trafficking,
bills.
please?
You
Can
need-
someone
you
please
need to
clip
come to
that
the
for me?
table. Each and every one of you need to come to the table, and you need to work with us. Kids are dying.
Senator Welch?
I want to thank my colleague, Senator Blackburn, for her decade of work on this. I actually have some optimism. There is a consensus today that didn't exist, say, 10 years ago, that there is a profound threat to children, to mental health, to safety. There's not a dispute. That was in debate before. That's a starting point. Secondly, we're identifying concrete things that can be done in 4 different areas. One is industry standards. 2 is legislation. 3 are the courts. And then 4 is a proposal that Senator Bennett, Senator Graham, myself, and Senator Warren have to establish an agency, a governmental agency whose responsibility would be to engage in this on a systematic, regular basis with proper resources. And I just want to go through those. I appreciate the industry standard decisions and steps that you've taken in your companies. But it's not enough, and that's what I think you're hearing from my colleagues. Like, for instance, where there are layoffs in it is in the Trust and Verify programs. That's alarming because it looks like there is a reduction in emphasis on protecting things like You just added, Ms. Yacarino, 100 employees in Texas in this category. And how many did you have before?
The company is just coming through a significant restructuring. So we've increased the number of trust and safety employees and agents all over the world by at least 10% so far in the last 14 months. And we will continue to do so, specifically in Austin, Texas.
All right, Mr. Zuckerberg, my understanding is there have been layoffs in that area as well. There's added jobs there at Twitter, but at Meta, have there been reductions in that?
There have been across the board, not really focused on that area. I think our investment is relatively consistent over the last couple of years.
All right,
We invested almost $5 billion in this work last year, and I think this year will be on the same order of magnitude.
All right, and another question that's come up is when, to the horror of a user of any of your platforms, somebody has an image on there that's very compromising, often of a sexual nature. Is there any reason in the world why a person who wants to take that down can't have a very simple same-day response to have it taken down? I'll start with Twitter on that.
I'm sorry, Senator, I was taking notes. Could you repeat the question?
Well, there's a lot of examples of a young person finding out about an image that is of them and really compromises them and actually can create suicidal thoughts. And they want to call up or they want to send an email and say, take it down. I mean, why is it not possible for that to be responded to immediately?
Well, we all strive to take down any type of violative content or disturbing content immediately. At X, we have increased our
But
capabilities
shouldn't
with a
that be, shouldn't
two-step
that just be a
reporting
standard?
process.
If I'm a parent or I'm a kid and I want this down, shouldn't there be methods in place where it comes down? You can see what the image is.
Yes.
An
Mr. Zuckerberg, go ahead.
ecosystem-wide standard would improve and actually enhance the experience for users at all our platforms.
All right.
There actually is an organization that I think a number of the companies up here are a part of called Take It Down. It's some technology that we and a few others
All right,
built.
so
that
you
basically-
all are in favor of that, because
Oh, this
that
already
is going to give
exists.
some peace of mind to people, all right? It really, really matters. Yeah, I don't have that much time, so we've talked about the legislation, and Senator Whitehouse had asked you to get back with your position on Section 230, which I'll go to in a minute, but I would welcome each of you responding as to your company's position on the bills that are under consideration in this hearing, all right?
Thank you for
I'm
coming,
just asking you
Jen.
to do that. Third, the court, this big question of Section 230. And today, I'm pretty inspired by the presence of the parents who have turned their extraordinary grief into action and hope that other parents may not have to suffer what for them is a devastating, for everyone, a devastating loss. Senator Whitehouse asked you all to get back very concretely about Section 230 and your position on that. But it's an astonishing benefit that your industry has that no other industry has. They just don't have to worry about being held accountable in court if they're negligent. So you've got some explaining to do, and I'm just reinforcing Senator Whitehouse's request that you get back specifically about that. And then finally, I want to ask about this notion, it's this idea of a federal agency who's resourced and whose job is to be dealing with public interest matters that are really affected by big tech. It's extraordinary what has happened in our economy with technology, and your companies represent innovation and success. But just as when the railroads were ascendant and were in charge and ripping off farmers because of practices they were able to get away with, just as when Wall Street was flying high, but there was no one regulating blue sky laws, we now have a whole new world in the economy. And Mr. Zuckerberg, I remember you testifying in the Energy and Commerce Committee, and I asked you your position on the concept of a federal regulatory agency. My recollection is that you were positive about that. Is that still the case?
I I think it could be a reasonable solution. There are obviously pros and cons to doing that versus through the normal, the current structure of having different regulatory agencies focused on specific issues.
Right.
But because a lot of the things trade off against each other, like one of the topics that we talked about today is encryption, and that's obviously really important for privacy and security.
Right.
But it
Can we
makes
just
some
go down
areas-
the line? I'm at the
Sure.
end, but thank you, Mr. Giacomino.
Senator, I think the industry initiative to keep those conversations going would be something X would be very, very proactive about. If you think about our support of the Report Act, the SHIELD Act, the Stop CSAM Act, our support of the Project Safe Childhood
Okay.
Act, I think our intentions are clear to participate and
Mr.
to
Shu?
lead here.
Yeah.
Senator, we support national privacy legislation, for example, so that sounds like a good idea. We just need to understand what it means.
All right. Mr. Spiegel?
Senator, we'll continue to work with your team, and we'd certainly be open to exploring the right regulatory body for big technology.
But the idea of a regulatory body is something that you can see has merit.
Yes, Senator.
And Mr. Sifrin?
Yeah, we're very open to working with you and our peers and anybody on helping make the internet a safer place. You know, I think you mentioned this is not a one-platform problem.
Right.
So we do look to collaborate with other companies and with nonprofits in the government.
Okay.
to
I
make it
thank
safer
you
for
all.
everybody.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Welch. Well, we're going to conclude this hearing, and thank you all for coming today. You probably have your scorecard out there. You've met at least 20 members of this committee and have your own impressions of their questioning and approach and the like. But the one thing I want to make clear as chairman of this committee for the last 3 years is this was an extraordinary vote on an extraordinary issue. A year ago, we passed 5 bills unanimously in this committee. You heard all the senators. Every spot on the political spectrum was covered. Every single senator voted unanimously in favor of the 5 pieces of legislation we've discussed today. It ought to tell everyone who follows Capitol Hill and Washington a pretty stark message. We get it, and we live it. As parents and grandparents, we know what our daughters and sons and others are going through. They cannot cope. They cannot handle this issue on their own. They're counting on us as much as they're counting on the industry to do the responsible thing. And some will leave with impressions of our witnesses and the companies they represent, that you're right as an American citizen. But you ought to also leave with the determination to keep the spotlight on us to do something, not just to hold a hearing, bring out a good, strong crowd of supporters for change, but to get something done. No excuses. No excuses. We've got to bring this to a vote. What I found in my time in the House and the Senate is that's the moment of reckoning. Speeches notwithstanding, press releases and the like. The moment of reckoning is when we call a vote on these measures. It's time to do that. I don't believe there's ever been a moment in America's wonderful history when a business or industry has stepped up and said, regulate us, put some legal limits on us. Businesses exist by and large to be profitable. And I think that we got to get behind that and say profitability at what cost. Senator Kennedy, a Republican colleague, said, is our technology greater than our humanity? I think that is a fundamental question that he asked. What I would add to it, are our politics greater than technology? We're going to find out. I want to thank a few people before we close up here. I've got several staffers who've worked so hard on this. Alexandra Gelber, thank you very much, Alexandra. Jeff Hansen, Scott Jorgensen. Last point I'll make, Mr. Zuckerberg, is just a little advice to you. I think your opening statement on mental health needs to be explained because I don't think it makes any sense. There is a parent in this room who's had a child that's gone through an emotional experience like this that wouldn't tell you and me they changed right in front of my eyes. They changed. They hold themselves up in their room. They no longer reached out to their friends. They lost all interest in school. These are mental health consequences that I think come with the abuse of this right to have access to this kind of technology. So I see my colleagues. You want to say a word?
I think it was a good hearing. I hope something positive comes from it. Thank you all for coming.
The hearing record's going to remain open for a week for statements, and questions may be submitted by senators by 5 p.m. on Wednesday. Once again, thanks to the witnesses for coming. The hearing stands adjourned.
Keep it packed here, folks.
So is it over? Is that it? Well, I guess Ernie is going to be live with Chasing Justice, an interview. So if everybody wants to meet me over there, I'm going to, I don't know what time their live starts or if it's already started. I just know that Chasing Justice was planning on interviewing him. And also Mark and Boyd is going to be interviewing him also, if y'all are subbed up or know him. I can drop the links here for you. Let me go over here to Chasing Justice and see what time their live is. At 2:20. So I guess it's on now. So I'll head over that way, and I'll see you guys over at Chasing Justice, where she's interviewing the Lightning Tiger. That's all, folks. Thank you, sweet Melissa. It's so good to see you again. So good to see you again. Yeah, I'm gonna put it down right now. Does anybody have? I'll just do it. I'm right here at it, so I can grab it. Let's see. Share. Copy link. Oh, I don't want to put it in her chat. What am I doing? I want to put it in my chat. Duh. Hang on. Sorry, I went to the wrong the wrong live. And I will give you a Chasing Justice. Hey, Dragon Clacy Diamond. That is a neat name. Do you do diamond art? That sounds awesome. Notify me. Yeah, they're all in line waiting to go live now. So it has not started yet, and I'm going to drop the link right now. Let's see, where is my live? I am Social Media Grilled by Congress. That one's mine. Okay, yeah, good to see you, Steve. We'll see you. Thank you so much. See if I can put it in chat without my phone messing up on me. Okay, there is where we're headed now to watch the interview. That sounds awesome. I'm going to sub up to you now and check you out then. Because I got questions for you. I have a ring I want, and I was just asking my husband about it this morning. So that's weird. Thanks, Gypsy. Love you. And all right, you have a good day too. Love you guys. Okay, I'm going to sing because this was about our freedoms. I'm going to sing just 1 second. Hold on 1 second. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. All right, good night, y'all. God bless the USA. USA. I got something for Kim I forgot to play. Where is it? No, it's a video for you. Hold on a minute. I gotta play it real quick. I can find the stupid thing.
Well, isn't that special?